I'm so afraid of what just happened here. I'm so afraid of what just happened here. My goodness. Guys, gals, other pals, welcome to the Newbcast Podcast for the 16th of June. Oh gosh, that was quite the intro. This week we are being joined once again by Megan Fox of Glass Bottom Games. Megan, welcome back to the show.
Hello.
So glad to have you, especially considering how busy you appear to have been the last few weeks. My goodness.
Yeah. It's been a thing. Just showed it. We took a little bird to E3, and well, people noticed apparently. So that was cool.
I can't imagine why. Yeah, in case everyone isn't aware, Megan Fox is part of a group that is programming a game called Skatebird, who is currently running a Kickstarter and is doing really well, so we'll probably end up talking about that at some point. Was also at E3, which is part of the relevance of our conversation this evening, and yeah. Oh, and she's got tea, even better.
Of course I have tea. Thank you.
Wait, I have to... There's been a discussion about this, and I had to get clarity on this. Do you microwave your tea?
If it is... Well, okay, do you mean if I'm making the tea, or if the tea got cold and I want it to be warm again?
When you're making it.
God, no. I use a kettle. I don't have a particular issue with microwaving tea water, but if you microwave the tea water, you're going to get water that is almost certainly below temperature, which means you're going to get tea that tastes a little and you're especially going to get tea that tastes a little if you aren't using a thermoprobe and don't know what your microwave is doing and haven't put a lot of time into getting it just right. If you're just putting it in there until it gets warm and then dipping a tea bag in it, you're going to get some really shitty tea.
Oh, goodness. There are some people that I feel like would really appreciate hearing that, so I'm glad we clarified that. I suppose, regardless, welcome to the show. And have you had any chance to play? Oh, there you go. Nice.
Yeah, but
Very
then I just hold my head.
Yes. You're just shielding the public in your eyes. The oncoming fans, it's like you up beneath me.
So then, if I do this, I can get drama. I can make a big announcement. It's like, and by the way, we're coming to Xbox. We're not actually coming to Xbox, but I could do it.
Right, you could do it.
Okay, I have an assistant who is putting a thing here.
Oh, even better. Does
it actually work? Sort of.
A little bit.
Somewhat.
A little bit.
I love it. I don't suppose with as busy as you've been, have you had any chance to play any games lately?
Actually, yes. The assistant is my partner, by the way. She's really nice. We have been playing Outward co-op. It's like, okay, so it's a little bit empty, but it's like an indie approach to so the comparison, if you were comparing against modern games, is you compare to Skyrim. It's a little bit of a lacking comparison because Skyrim has $1 trillion million, and Outward had indie budget. But the more accurate comparison would be to something like Gothic. Gothic 1 or Gothic 2 is a pretty accurate comparison. But it's same box co-op and online co-op, and it's split screen capable. And I have never gotten to play a game like this where I could actually play it with my girlfriend. It's like, we're going to do this. We're going to adventure across here. And and it works really well for co-op because one of you can specialize in alchemy and one of you can specialize in cooking. It doesn't actually matter, but it makes it cool. And then I made the really thick lesbian in the padded armor that always has soup in her pockets. And my girlfriend made the smart alchemist with the cool mage hat. It is so fun. So yes, I've been playing some games.
That's awesome, though. Gosh, that sounds... see, I haven't played that yet. I've heard a little bit about it.
And it's so good. Okay. The coolest story is that Seven Dots has been doing games like this for a while. Not games like this. They've been doing games for a while. I don't know. Guillaume? Shit, I'm going to get your name wrong. If you're listening, I'm sorry. I believe your name is Guillaume, but I'm terrible with names. If not, I apologize. Anyways, director of the studio has been working for a long time to make big experiences, and they kept, for whatever reason, not hitting market. His last game was a really kick-ass, their team. Everything is a team experience. I think of it as a studio, but he's got a team, etc. Their last experience was a mecha game, was it Strike Suit Zero? Am I getting that name right?
Oh yes, right. So oh yeah, the arcade one. You can fly around and
I think Google before I may be getting that name wrong. I may be totally getting that name wrong, but it is a mech game. So if you do 7 dots studio 9. No, hold on. I have the internet right here. Just one moment. 7 dots studio mech.
When in doubt,
Or is it
ask
9 dots
Dr.
studio?
Google.
But it's 9 dots studio. It's a numbers dots studio. 9 dots studio, and their game, aside from Outward, is our titles. God Factory. There it is. Yeah, I totally fucking got that name wrong. God Factory Wingman. It came out a while ago. Like I want to say it initially launched on Xbox, like an XBLA maybe or something, as some kind of exclusive deal, and then it eventually got a Steam release that was cooler and had more to it. And suffice to say, it's got cool transforming mechs and it's surprisingly cool. But I don't think it like quite hit the audience he was expecting it to, that they were expecting it to. Outward, however, totally hit. Like it's fucking huge. It's everywhere. It's doing great. So it's a super indie success story, which is nice.
That's awesome then. So you said you were doing this as partly like a co-op with your partner. Is that what I was?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's so it does online, but it's also sandbox split screen if you want.
Oh, okay. So it did. Oh, it's funny. During the last episode, I was talking about how I'd love seeing more games that are that couch co-op style of game.
Yes.
So the fact it has this,
Oh, yeah, and it's like super, super smooth. The way it works is essentially you start a single player game, you say start split screen, it goes split screen, your partner gets the same login screen, they pick their character, and whoop, they're in. If they want to leave, cool. If they want to come back later, cool. The game does have stats, but realistically it's very driven by currency and by weapons. So it's a kind of game where if you did have one person that was playing a lot more than the other person and you were okay with missing some stuff, which is okay because the game isn't like story driven. It's more about there's a cool bandit camp over there. Let's go kill some dudes. Oh, we got a cool sword. Now let's go do this other thing. That kind of experience.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had one person that was playing more, they could realistically go out and get that really kick-ass shield and sell some shit to make 1,000 gold so that whenever the other person comes back, you can just give them a sack of money and say, oh, you can finally get your class upgrade. And then we can go cast spells and do the cool explosion shit. And like it would work well with that too if you've got that kind of asymmetric. We're trying to do it like in symmetrically though, so yeah.
No,
highly recommended.
Awesome. Well, I've already written it down. It's definitely something I might be willing to check out. And I think if ever, yeah. In fact, he's saying it in chat right now live. So Hippo, who's one of our regular co-hosts too, is saying that he played it and really enjoyed it too. So additional endorsement. That's awesome. So beyond that, is I suppose you probably had a chance to play the pre-alpha build of another little game that's been out in the circuits. Yours?
Well, I mean, I haven't played it, but I've been developing it. Yeah, Skatebird's out. And by the way, folks listening, Skatebird is on Kickstarter. You can back us. We funded in the first 24 hours. Now we're getting some cool stretch goals. The next one means the birds can dress up in really cute stuff, even more cuter. And there's a demo, and it's free on itch. Technically, it's pay what you want. You really don't need to pay for it. It's just a demo. Have fun, etc. If you want to back it after that, cool. But yeah, search for Skatebird, and you will find it, I guarantee.
Absolutely.
The only other thing you'll find when you search Skatebird is I believe it's a 70s cartoon about roller skating people in large outfits. I don't actually know what it was. It's like their trademark is, I believe, the Skatebirds, and they haven't done anything with it for a very, very long time, and it's pluralized, and it's very different. But should you see that, it's worth a. It's like if Captain Kangaroo were a large 6-foot big bird and also roller skated for absolutely no reason, and there were 4 of them.
Oh dear. Well, and of course, if it's from the 70s, that trademark may have already passed. So whatever. Regardless, yeah. And again, we're giving Megan the extra chance to go ahead and plug it because it is in Kickstarter. I know that at least Crafty and myself will talk about it during the games we've played. So I guess with that being said, Theor Craft, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Not too bad.
What have you been playing lately?
Well, I have been breaking the Skatebird alpha fairly frequently, but there is that little disclaimer in the corridor that, you know, it's alpha, there's going to be bugs. So when I start a, you know, vicious loop of the bird getting rocketed through the skybox every couple of seconds over and over, there's always going to be a little bit of wiggle room there.
Well, see, all you've got to do then is just let them know about, right? You just let the development team know about it since it's pre-alpha, and I'm sure they'd appreciate the feedback, right?
Sort of. Since it's an alpha, we're pretty aware of most of the bugs, and there's like a billion of them. We're just have fun. If you hit a bug, just coach on by. Like one of the major bugs you're probably going to hit is that it's very easy to tip your board up and do a ride along the wall, and you can like go pretty much anywhere on the walls. That isn't technically a bug. Wall riding is a system in the game. The bug is that you can do it forever and way too easily. But that is intended, sort of. So, yeah.
Working as intended.
Yes.
Yeah, sort of, a little bit, yeah. But have fun in the meantime.
Nice. Yeah, so I know, yeah, Crafty, you've been playing that, and I've seen you kick it up a few times. So talk about that. What else, in addition to that, what else you've been playing? So go. Do the thing.
I've also been, you know, exploring a lot of virtual reality stuff and getting other people hooked on virtual reality, which is its own brand of amusement. Brief story time. My parents came to visit me, and I ended up putting both of them through it. And my father is the one who introduced me to video games, and my mother does not play them at all. So what's kind of hilarious is when I first got my father to play Skyrim, he literally lost track of time and spent about 2 hours picking flowers. And when I put him into Abduction, literally the first thing that he did is walked up to Farley's house and started trying to interact with the flower bushes. That was kind of adorable.
As you do, yeah. So you've done that. What else? I know that you've done a few other VR games. What else have you had a chance to experiment? Especially since VR was a huge part of our conversation a couple weeks ago. What else have you been seeing, exploring, adventuring, and etc.?
I've been messing around with this boxing simulator called Creed Rise to Glory, and I am really, really out of shape, and this makes that very, very obvious. It's another one of those that I would put away as, you know, being a really good workout. And yeah, unfortunately, I am really out of shape and can't last very long.
Nothing like feeling that workout burn, I suppose. So there's, yeah.
I'm also trying to figure out a decent setup to get my Logitech X52 set up so that I can play Elite Dangerous in VR, because it is really, really hard to operate a really complex game on your keyboard when you can't see your keyboard.
No. What, I mean, I have so many things I can say about that being an elite streamer, but you know, I digress. Cause yeah, I feel like it's been a lot of that, and then when you haven't been doing the VR, it's been the last few days Skatebird, and then that's, unless there's something else in it that I haven't seen that you've been playing.
No, that's mostly it. Skatebird was just this really nice breath of fresh air, very relaxing. I am absolutely terrible at it, but it's cute as all get out, so I've been like shoving it on my friends like a drug push.
It's totally fine that you're okay with it. Like, if you're bad at it, it's a game about trying your best. That's all you gotta do.
Right. Awesome. Well, Crafty, welcome, and thank you for filling in on the show. As you can see, Dizzy is not here this week. He has some other commitments he had to commit to, and as always, the aircraft is willing to jump into the, oh god, I need someone in the seat position, and yeah, so thank you for that, as always.
Miss Michelle Jean wouldn't know at all about having that partner Soros or assistance thing.
Yes, I might have a same assistant thing going on there. Yep. Oh, Elijah, the Unabridged Gamer, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I have had a week. I have
Oh.
had a week.
Oh, really? Please do tell
No,
what.
no, thank you.
Okay.
I don't want to relay. It's been an experience, but as for what I have been playing,
Yep, that's what I was gonna ask. Go for it.
it's gonna be an
Sit back,
odd
everyone.
assortment, but not quite what everybody is expecting. Because ironically, I've actually had very little time to play games since I was last on here. Yeah, that is how nuts it has been. I have not really had that much time. So I do have some new acquisitions that I'm excited for. I'm gonna finally get a chance to talk about Sorcery for the PlayStation Move, which is supposedly great, and literally the only criticism I could find of it is it's 8 hours long and not hugely replayable. Yeah, bullshit game industry. There's a ton of games that have been raised out of the wazoo for that. There's no reason you can use that as an excuse to hold back this one. And a friend of the show also sent a few other things my way, so that's exciting. But personally, I got a little further into Black Ops 2 with the Wiimote controls on Wii U, and yeah, still the motion controls are about the only thing keeping me interested, but they're just so damn satisfying that they're at least making up for the game otherwise being a pretty campaign mode. Also, just this Friday, we streamed Layers of Fear and the opening bit of Layers of Fear 2, which is by Bloober Team, who also handled Observer, which you'll recall from the Game Club last year. And what I have to say about Layers of Fear is those fucking lamps are in on it, and they are conspiring against us. They're evolving, and the wheelchair is co-opting with them. They are coming for us, and we need to be prepared. Lamps. These lamps are coming for us. Which I know sounds weird to you, but there's actually a moment in the first game where you'll come across a lamp riding a wheelchair very sinisterly. And when you're walking down the hall, everything looks fine unless you get right behind the wheelchair. Then everything turns hellish. Whenever you look at this lamp, everything turns hellish.
Uh-huh.
I see.
Would you happen to be a moth in disguise?
No, because I don't like these lamps. The thing is, in the sequel, they've evolved. They've turned into projectors, and the projectors sometimes talk to you, and they slide out of view. I'm not making this up. There's actual video proof to show that this was happening. I had someone watching along with me, laughing their ass off because lamps were harassing me. And every time things start to go wrong, the lamps change now in the second one. Suddenly, you're in an old-timey black and white film. Sure, there's a giant monstrous mannequin chasing you, but the mannequins are just indoctrinated, obviously. They're just being torn apart and being forced to work for their evil lamp overlords, who are the actual antagonists of the entire Layers of Fear franchise, and I have absolutely no doubt that the third entry in the series will have a crossover with The Darkness, where Jackie Estacado destroys all lamps.
I don't know.
Also
See,
this-
I'm listening to all this, and all I hear is Mothman. I mean, I don't know.
It fight many lamps, brother.
I'm at least into the crossover with the Darkness. That fucking rock. Though the Darkness 1, not the Darkness 2. We don't talk about Darkness.
See, there's a lot of people who are
See,
When
what
I
I
get my
really
book-
want to see at an E3 sometime is to have them play a trailer that looks like it's going to be for another Darkness game, only for Jackie to just get his ass handed to him and reveal that it's actually for a Witchblade.
give it to Ninja Theory. I'll buy it. But I'm not kidding here. It feels like the lamps are the ones that are actually doing it. Like they're the ones actually committing. Because I would say the first one, the horror is too all over the place. Like they have some really good ideas, but then they never actually stick with them. It instead feels like a horror anthology series trying to stitch each anthology story into a single, like 2.5 hour long experience. So like there's the part where there's dolls and it's creepy. There's the part where at one point one of the best jump scares in the game is actually a bunch of books shaped in the form of a man about to pounce on you. The thing is, when you turn towards it and it moves a little bit, it then instantly collapses and then never comes up again. Like, there's no clear reason for why books would be attacking you. There's no real. It lacks the cohesive tissue that makes something like Silent Hill 3 really work. It doesn't have anything that makes it all thematically make sense other than this guy just let his life go to insanity. He became an alcoholic and he neglected his daughter. That's basically the drum beats that the game repeats over and over again, but not in any way that makes it all connect. Layers of Fear 2 seems like it's going for a much more cohesive thing, but still, I think Observer may be Bloober Team's best work, though they have a new title on the horizon that we will be discussing because it did get announced at E3, so there's that, but just overall, Layers of Fear 1, I'm actually more curious now about the DLC because you apparently play as the daughter coming back to the mansion thereafter, and I think that might actually have more emotional resonance and reason to exist in the original game. So, curious to see that. But that's about all I played. Hopefully next time I will have played a bunch of really, really weird games. Also, I just want to say one last time, Doom 3 Resurrection of Evil is better than Doom 3 proper. It's okay if you don't understand this. You probably forgot that you played Resurrection of Evil. Go play it again. It plays way better and has way better level design and pacing. That is all. Carry on.
There was a Doom 3 DLC?
It was an expansion pack that was also standalone on Xbox. It's in the BFG edition, and the thing is, speaking as someone who's genuinely falling asleep playing the main Doom 3, it plays so much better. It has such a more interesting story. It's one of the best examples I've ever seen of short story game design. It's only like 3 hours long, but really kicks ass.
I have one question. Has the hero learned to attach a flashlight to a gun yet?
In the BFG edition, you can do that in pretty much the entire thing. In the original Xbox release, they actually forced they did attach the flashlight, but only to the pistol. Everything else you just had. But in Resurrection of Evil on BFG, it has the improved flashlight functionality, but the lighting is also way better, so you don't need it constantly. There's some
that helps.
And if I'm going to be honest here, it has some of the best, like in complete contrast to Layers of Fear. As a great example, Layers of Fear, lots of random stuff happens. It doesn't really amount to telling you much. Whereas in Doom 3's Resurrection of Evil campaign, there's this one section that is literally just a hallway with like the big rocket spewing demons, the Hell Knights coming at you. But the way they use the lighting, they have this really ichory red, just saturating everything. You could just barely make out the outlines. Each blast of each shot lights up everything in this devastating glow. It's this really good thematic use of level design. It's all diegetic. It's all in engine. There's no cutscene element to it. And yet people tell me this is supposed to be the part of Doom 3 that isn't interesting. It is some of the most creative stuff I've seen used with the I believe it was the id Tech 4 engine at the time. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
That yeah, okay. Let it be known and let it be so. The word has been shared and so it shall be. I don't know. And you haven't
You've been playing, Miss Michelle Jean.
Thank you. Well, I've had a chance to, besides the usual, so we Guild Wars and Elite. I've been doing a fair amount of that. Went back and did well, actually there's a few new ones now that I think about it. Kerbal Space Program was one of the games I finally had a chance to try. I tried the campaign mode. That was a lot harder than I had in any way intended or expected it to be. Especially after launching several thousand meters in the air and trying to do re-entry. Yeah, I now know that re-entry is in fact an incredibly difficult thing to do. Who knew? Who knew re-entry was so difficult?
So how does the campaign mode work? The last time I saw it was still essentially a sandbox. Is there like a story or something?
It's kind of the idea that you're like almost like our NASA, right? The idea of you're trying to develop and understand different rocket building techniques that can result in different departures, the way you depart, the engine, the thrusts, and everything else.
So I'm guessing it like lays out a bunch of goals that you have to hit.
Yeah, pretty much. And that was the way I was playing. It was really difficult, and it ended up with a lot of launches with me blowing up along the way. I killed several Kerbals. May they rest in peace. But I did get to experience that. Next time I played, there is a sandbox, do what you will mode. I might try it that route and see what I think of it. I like the idea just because of the mechanics and the kind of the
people have made Gundams in the sandbox mode. You'll have fun.
Ooh, there we go. Now for science. There we go. That's why we would do it that way. So I've had a chance to play that. And it will probably come back into the rotation again. We did it on stream. The other game that I recently did on stream that was of a change was Frostpunk. Oof. Oof. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. It was a really thought-provoking game. After understanding some of the basic mechanics and how it worked, like the keybinds and whatnot, understanding like just how things have to, how the warmth works from the main generator, and the way you have to build out from the main generator, I felt like I did it right. The only thing I wasn't too keen on is I felt like the issues that you face almost felt slightly arbitrary and forced upon you. Like the last play I had a thriving population with plenty of resources, and I was kicked out of my town like minutes after someone died after 24 days. And I felt like, because it was the Londoners were like, well, we're gonna die, blah blah blah. I was like, no, because everyone's staying warm, we have resources, we're continuing to build out and collecting resources, we're bringing the rest of the survivors we can find back.
So you haven't quite been able to balance the hope and discontent aspect of it yet.
Right. You know, I even introduced them to religion. That wasn't enough for it, apparently, and yeah, I was a little disappointed in that, because I felt like if the townspeople, the caravan, could see that we are collecting resources, everyone is surviving, we only had the one death after how many days, there was no reason for the despair that they seem to really thrust on you. It's like, I look, it is.
So you're salty.
It's mish. Salt is just expected. There's a constant saline drip.
Yeah, I guess, yes, you can say I'm salty about it, because I freaking had it. Look, there is no reason I should have been kicked out. We should have had a thriving, awesome community with the main generator, all the steam heaters that were scattered about the rest of the community. Everyone was comfortably warm. It went from dire Minnesota conditions to one of our typical winters in Minnesota, which we all survived, by the way. Just gonna put that out there. But beyond that moment, I still enjoyed the game. There was Jesus. Chat. Sometimes I tell you. Beyond that problem, I truly enjoyed it. I'll definitely play more of it, and see if I can figure out that balance. But I enjoyed it. The other game that I had a chance to play a little bit of was indeed Skatebird, and I also really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
I had so much fun doing like Tony Hawk puns as I was doing ollies up and down the ramps and everything else, and I think I only broke it once, so I'm pretty happy with that overall. So
I might have just been breaking it so much because I freaked out when I realized that there was a second level above it, and I was terrible at actually getting up there.
Wait, there's a second level?
Yes.
Well, I've got work to do now.
You're welcome.
Yes, but I truly enjoyed it. It makes me look forward to the continued development in the final product in the time to come. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Other than that, Guild Wars 2, I'm still working on a freaking Sky Scale, which they apparently made easier, which I'm not convinced they made it easier. That thing is a grind. That is, they went Blizzard levels of grind. God, it's rough. So I've done that, and then I've done the rep grind in Elite Dangerous, trying to get my Corvette for the good of the Federation, because those Empire folk, I don't know about them. That's everything for me. But this past week we had this little thing called E3 that happened, and there were things.
Convention.
Yeah, it's that one. Some
And
stuff
they
happened.
presented us with video games.
Video games? What?
Leaked
Video
videos of video games.
I love it. I love how people are so excited about video games. It's like that's the whole convention. But honestly, there was some cool stuff. There were things that even I'll admit that I completely marked out on and was just it's just like, yes, please, more of this. I'm convinced that March next year is going to be an incredibly busy month.
I mean, you're sometimes getting mocked for, getting so excited about video games, but I remember the E3 where they barely talked about games and everyone got pissed. You remember when Microsoft was going on and on about how you're going to be able to watch ESPN on your Xbox One and exactly no one cared?
No, I think that's a really interesting point. Like, we tease because it's we're almost laughing at ourselves more than anything, in the sense that video gamers or like gamers are excited about video games at a gaming conference. What? But I do remember that E3, and I do believe we had a Newbcast run at the time, and we picked that conference apart. Like, we decimated Microsoft in our review of that one. But I felt like Microsoft did better this year.
They did. They did really well this year.
Yeah. Having Keanu Reeves probably helps a little bit with that. I mean,
having games. There's so many things, and the thing is, we got this. Everybody was complaining about trailers being brief, but the thing is, indies got the same amount of space as major AAA stuff. Gears of War 5 got as much time on stage as 12 minutes. And I am so happy for that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. That or just other games, or like very niche type of games. Like the new Microsoft Flight Simulator, for instance, got the same amount of time, and it looked so freaking gorgeous. I
also hear that apparently some people are salty about the idea of Lego racing cars next to their hyper-realistic ones in Fortnite.
Wait, what? But it's cool.
It's Lego Racer 3! It's been over a decade, but I get a Lego Racer 3! I'm just so happy.
Though I'm a little salty. I'm a little salty over the fact that in the video, I haven't actually played it, but in the video at least, the start is, oh cool, there's Lego trees, and then they get about halfway through the track and there's fucking actual trees in the distance, and it's like, but why are there actual trees in my Lego world?
Apparently, it's a separate region. Like, it's actually a region in the world that they've added for for the expansion for the Lego stuff. So that's why you can actually take your Lego cars to the realistic places, but you also.
Okay. But if you go to the actual Lego places, there are no boring Lego. There are no boring
I don't
stuff.
believe
It's
so.
all.
I think it's all Lego. You can smash it all up. It looks like they got some really good natural. I know. It's pretty much the only reason I'm going to be playing for Horizon 4. I still need to get to the round of the first one, but it's like I will play this for Legos.
I mean, Forza there's a lot going for it that I actually really like. It gets a little, I don't know. After a certain point, like at the beginning, it's kind of this very. You can do anything, you can go anywhere, but we're going to push you through all of the seasons, and then you get through all the seasons. It's like, okay, you're in the competition. Now do these things if you want to get back to the fun time of year. Like, it's very goal-oriented and kind of sucks if you just want to explore and do shit, but it's also neat. I'm hoping that the Lego area is less that and more the here's a buffet of things you can do and shit you can explode, I hope.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because the thing is, one of the lowest key announcements that's actually huge for like in the kids game sector is the Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga.
Yeah, which is like supposedly open world or something.
Oh yeah, the thing is, they've said they're not remaking the levels that they made before. Those entire story elements are now open world sections. The open world is no longer an obligatory side thing. It's where a lot of the core content is, and the linear stuff gets to be things like going through the planet's core and Naboo and stuff like that. All the things they could never do before are going to be made into the linear levels, whereas everything else is just going to be this huge scale, dynamic, naturally, organically happening stuff, and they're making it be more action paced because kids know how to do that now between Fortnite and Disney and video. That's like, this looks so amazing. Why are we not freaking out about this? This sounds like actually one of the coolest, craziest things coming out.
And I gotta hand it to the Lego games. They have a sense of humor.
Yeah, they in no way take themselves serious, which is great. I really like how they. So the game itself, like Forza 4, is that very realistic game, ultra realistic, I would say. But and then you get the Lego element. But even that announcement, like, if you guys didn't notice, that McLaren that was up on the stage, that was a Lego car. Which I thought was a nice little touch too. But no, it looked like it would be fun. It's just for the people that are so upset about it, it's like, if you don't like it, don't play it. It's not that hard.
Card game people are weird. Like there's a big, like, a Venn diagram that shows card game enthusiasts and everyone else, and the overlap is like tiny. I think maybe I figure
It's gotten bigger and bigger over the years. Like during the PS2 gen, there was a lot of overlap, and then it seems like they just kind of kept going further and further apart. The more car fans were like, realism, realism, realism.
oh, the same thing happened to skate games. Like yeah, I guess all of the sim crowds kind of got sectioned off, and
Which is just a shame. I mean, I guess I don't think they realized by having the Lego addition to the game that there are now people that may not have otherwise played Forza suddenly looking into the game and trying it. Hey guys, your player base just got larger. The people that you can play with just got larger.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
And how long has it been since we had a racing game that was actually something that kids, well, not kids, but like, tweens and such, might actually give a shit about? So if it becomes an on-ramp for an actual new generation of people who give a shit about car people instead of just the 30-plus crowd and older who just keeps getting older and older.
Yeah.
Unless you look at like Need for Speed, because I don't think the Crew hit that at all with either game.
No, the last Need for Speed crashed and burned, and that's not me being punny. That's just genuinely it did so poorly. No one's even talked about it. Like less than a year after release, as far as I understand it.
Are they still doing Burnout games? Like Burnout Paradise was awesome, but have
They
they
did a
done
re-release of the remaster, but besides that, I know that the guys behind it are doing something else. They're apparently crafting some sort of new experience, but
okay.
I don't think it's out yet. I think it's got Takedown in the name or something. Don't quote me on that. I'm really trying to think. So far, the only real heralds of like fun casual racing games is actually somehow Sonic and Crash Bandicoot.
Which does look really fun.
Well,
Mario.
no, yeah, I was gonna say Mario Kart's probably the peak of that like cartoony racy game, which it's Mario Kart.
I mean, but oh, my computer's turned off. Is there like an on-ramp from I enjoyed Mario Kart to now I'm playing Forza? Is that like close enough?
There really isn't, right? That there's like the only thing those two games have in common. No, they are so different. Like, the only thing those games have in common is they're racing games, and everything froze. Nope, never mind. We're good.
Okay, you're back. I just want to say, you know what would be a really great way to on-ramp? If we had a Blur 2. Activision.
I'd also be happy for a Need for Speed that doesn't suck, that actually kind of went back to when it was still good, like Need for Speed Underground 2 or so.
Oh god, that was a good one though too. Yeah.
It really was. And then they just kind of went...
And I'm sure Miss Michelle Jean can explain her disappointment in the Crew.
Yeah, no, like the Crew, I don't think they really, like, they were trying to go open world and everything else with it. I was so disappointed with the Crew. I think the peak of what really made me not like that game, made me salty about it, was when the GPS told me to turn right into a water treatment plant, not on a road. Like, it was like, go off the road into the freaking treatment plant. Like, what are you doing? This isn't... Really?
I think you accidentally opened Apple Maps instead of Google Maps.
Yeah, and I think I made that joke at the time too. Well, not only that, but there was that element of it, right? And just the other thing that got me is like watchtowers. Freaking Ubisoft and Watchtower. Stop with the watchtowers. I don't think we've seen them in recent games, but my god, that would just drove me nuts. It's like okay, I get it for Assassin's Creed. You don't need it in a modern day game because we have this awesome thing on our phones called GPS. We don't need
Didn't they
towers.
specifically do like an announcement? Was it last year where we've given up doing these? We're not going to do them anymore, or something?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's like Far Cry 5. They were just like, we're gonna stop trying to push that nearly as much. And then with
Yeah.
New Dawn, it was like, we have outposts and that's it.
Yeah. So they've heard that cry, thankfully, and that's what I'm saying. Like, we haven't seen it recently, but my God, that drove me nuts.
They've heard that Far Cry.
Moving on. So what are some other things that we thought really stuck out and won E3 this year? Like, what were the things that
Crossing.
Animal Crossing. I have to say with the Animal Crossing, I really like that Nintendo firmly believes that there should be a work-life balance between with the developers, and that
the delay thing. Yes, I'm all for that.
Yeah, so kudos to Nintendo for that. That is beyond awesome. Too bad their investors suck, and I saw the stock drop after that. But
so if you look at a lot of people who don't follow business news looked at that and read things into it. It doesn't mean. If you look at Nintendo stock, they do that when Nintendo advertises literally anything. This is just how the stock works. So it was just bad news.
That's
really
weird that that's how. I mean, whatever. I guess that's something I should watch more on my ticker. But, yeah, no, the correlation, I guess, is what it was. It still was really awesome. I don't know. So Megan says, Animal Crossing. What about the rest of you? Crafty, what stuck out for you so far from E3?
Nintendo, what's that?
That one gaming company that I know that you play so much of.
I'm probably gonna have to punt this one over to Elijah, but I do find it very interesting that a lot of the people who are dedicated to Nintendo consoles are only dedicated to Nintendo consoles. We're actually seeing a lot of old games get new life being re-released on the Switch. Like games that the rest of us are already sick of because we've already played them over and over on a lot of old consoles or on our computers, and are now getting picked up on the Switch.
Yeah. Well, and it doesn't have to be just Nintendo. It could be anything that you saw from E3, just to put that out there is what stuck out to you. As far as that comment, I agree. It's these Nintendo players, like the Nintendo fans, they're just getting third-party support that they haven't had in so many years, and they've forgotten what it was like. So they're excited for like The Witcher 3. It's like, it's just The Witcher 3, everyone. But yay, you're excited that you're getting third-party support. That's awesome, right?
Oh, I mean, even Alien Isolation. I love that the Switch is subtly turning into the ultimate handheld horror game console between Alien Isolation, Resident Evil 5, Resident Evil 6, the Revelations duology, them trying to work out some way to stream 7 in Japan. It's like, okay, keep adding horror games. Eventually you'll convince me.
I like how during the Nintendo press conference too, there's like, maybe don't play this in an empty haunted mansion with like Resident Evil and 5 and 6, was it? I felt, yeah, which was really. I appreciate the jokes that were in the Nintendo press conference. Anywhere from that to the Bowser skit at the beginning. I really appreciated that. I'm so glad they're playing with that in general. But yeah, before you punt, Crafty, it doesn't have to be Nintendo. Just anything from E3 in general that stuck out to you is like, yes, that.
It wasn't technically at E3, but it is nice to see that Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, we already heard the round of applause when it was announced that there was going to be no microtransactions and there was going to be no loot boxes and all of that. Elijah, do you remember which outlet it was that said that Fallen Order looks boring in all of the ways that it needs to be? Because
that was The Escapist in an article that I'm still not entirely comfortable with some of the things there.
But it looks like it's going to be a fun, interesting, straightforward, single-player, you're gonna be a hero kind of game. And I am all for that right now.
Yeah.
I think Star Wars needs that right now.
Yeah.
Star Wars could use like just offline, well, offline, but straightforward game. Especially the Force pushing the droid into the stormtroopers. That looked fucking awesome.
Right.
Or the grabbing the stormtrooper, stopping his blaster bolt midair, and then pulling him in front of his own shot.
Though I'm really hoping that they have the same cheat they have in previous Shadow Knight games, where you can turn the boring, automatically cauterized wounds into actually they break into tiny little pieces. I'm really crossing my fingers for that cheat. Please, someone add it if you're listening over there.
Apparently, Disney is very much nixing that, and to the point. And the thing is, it's in the code because you can do it to droids and non-sentients. They've said pretty much everyone except stormtroopers can be dismembered. Never mind that. Even in terms of like the ESRB rating, The Force Unleashed 2 got away with it. You could decapitate people in The Force Unleashed 2, so long as you can't see their face. They're basically droids to whoever cares. They're stormtroopers.
They had to remove it in was it Academy?
In Academy and Outcast, both of them had it. It's like you just had to change one variable.
Well, you had to change a variable, which means it wasn't DRCB compliant. Since that came out, Hot Coffee happened, and the ESRB has started being a lot more serious about, if you pull this shit, we will yank your rating. So now they can't be cheeky about that. But the bright side is modders maybe can put it back in, so I'm just going to buy the PC version and pray.
Fingers crossed. And just personally for me, I want to be excited for Fallen Order. There's a lot of things that look great. It's just also for me, it's like I really hope the story lands because it looks like they are actually taking notes from my favorite Star Wars comics and trying to adapt it into a new timeline. So fingers crossed they don't bugger that up horribly.
This might not be KOTOR 3, but I am somewhat hopeful. But, we all know the rule. Don't pre-order unless you're kickstarting something. And it won't happen if you don't kickstart it. But, a giant AAA developer like this and publisher, wait for the review.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And yeah, I agree. I've not been as hyped or like into. Clearly, these two, are the Star Wars nuts who bring it up so many times during the episodes. But this is actually one that I'm looking forward to checking out too, because it's everything that the franchise needs, and it just looks good. Like it just looks like it plays so well and so smooth. So yeah, Crafty, that's a very good point. Yeah, Elijah, what stuck out to you the most from E3? What grabbed your attention the most?
I wanted to say overall, the Xbox conference was probably my favorite, hands down. Just it gave me so much more investment into what I want to. And the Ultimate Pass thing, I don't know if you know this, but if you have games with Gold or Game Pass right now, they're doing a promo where for $1 they will upgrade and match every single month. They will add it all together as basically next to free Ultimate Pass, which is really a great promotion on their part. That's the thing. Microsoft's gotten really good at promotions and getting people interested in their products and what they can offer them in terms of library, even if they don't have a ton of exclusives right now. So that's looking pretty cool. I'm pretty though on Halo Infinite until we see more, because after the way Halo 5 ended, it's just so many balls are in the air and so many things are changing again that like it's less like Halo 4, 5, and 6 are going to be a trilogy. It's more like they all just happen to have the same interconnecting story, and that's about it. So
probably says something that I barely even remember Halo 4 and 5, and I know I played them through to completion.
But if I'm going to say what I am personally most excited about from E3, the thing that has me, I'm just still, there's a part of my brain that is going, how does this exist? And it isn't one of the Lego properties that Microsoft announced. It's that I'm getting Evil Genius 2. And it looks exactly like it should. It's not a Facebook game. It is a proper, it's Evil Genius, but better. It has prettier graphics.
The like dungeon keepery type, was it a dungeon? They're actually making a real one?
Yeah, I can link it in the chat.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
It is Evil Genius 2 World Domination. And one of my favorite things is, as a fan of Liv Octavius from Into the Spider-Verse, there's a villain that's basically her. That's one of the new villains you can choose between. So it's like all of the check marks are being made. This is the kind of real-time strategy I actually want. This is the management game I want. I've been waiting so long for this. So very excited. The only way they could make it better would be if there was a multiplayer where you could try to break into other people's bases, a la No One Lives Forever. But I don't expect to ever see that, even though that would be amazing to see them. But just yeah, oh my gosh, I'm so freaking happy to see that, and just overall, I'm I'm gonna have to also say real quick here that the new Arcane game, I forget what it was called, the time loop one. It's because
Oh,
I mean,
right.
yeah, it's got Dave Fennoy as one of the
The
leads.
the lady trying to kill the dude and the dude trying to kill the lady, and one of them wants to break the loop and one of them wants to save the loop. Yeah,
Yeah,
that looked
yeah,
like it could be really interesting, but there was also not even enough not gameplay to tell what the gameplay might even be. So beyond it being another arcane game, which I guess is a pretty good indicator, I don't really know what to expect. But I like time loops and I like arcane, so
I'm
yeah,
I
expecting.
believe it's just straight up called Deathloop.
Yeah, that's the thing. And the thing is,
Yeah.
the reason that interests me is actually because we don't know everything yet, but there's two very distinct possibilities that strike me. One, Arcane's going to try to make a one versus one immersive sim, which would be insane and actually be the only kind of battle royale-ish situation type of multiplayer thing you could actually convince me to play. And the other is they've already been playing around with roguelike elements in Moon Crash. So who's to say they wouldn't make it so that playing as one character then swapping to the other character might alter your campaign? That could be really interesting and open a lot of doors. So that was like one of the two things that excited me about the entire Bethesda conference, because Youngblood doesn't look that exciting, but this looks neat. And I mean, absolutely, I'm here for Ghostwire Tokyo because after the Evil Within 2, Tango Gameworks has finally worked out their mojo and it looks exciting.
also the lady that was introducing Ghostwire was fucking awesome.
Oh, she's
Anything
so
she's that excited about, I am also excited about.
Oh, right? Yeah, she was freaking adorable too. Just watching her being so excited about that game in general, like.
I mean, she's Bayonetta's mother. She helped create the guy character and worked on Ami as well. So like,
Yeah.
she knows her shit.
Yeah,
Wait,
this is true.
That's Bayonetta's character creator. That was her.
She helped create the character.
Fucking yes! So I knew it was a woman. I just didn't know what woman it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah,
No.
you need to. Sorry.
No. Look. We're talking about the things that we liked, right? Like I'm going. I have notes. Like, this is how much that I have the reference to talk about things that I like that stuck out to me. Like, oh my god, because there's so many things that I like too. Like, to start with, I will be the first to admit I fully marked to Squeenix's Final Fantasy VII demonstration. Like, holy crap, that was amazing, and I loved it. And every ounce of my being was all for that, even if it is episodic.
Then I had to rein you back in with the, remember, it's episodic.
Yeah, see, and it is episodic, and we don't know how many, like we found out later, they don't know how many episodes it is, so we don't know how many episodes it is. So that's about the only thing from it that I'm, but it looks great. Like, the detail of the characters, the fight mechanics looked really nice. The fact that it's still an the combat, yeah, the ATB is still there. I love that the ATB is still there. So still honoring the mechanics of the original Final Fantasy VII. So I was all for that. I also really like that the redheaded stepchild of the franchise, Final Fantasy VIII, is seeing a digital upgrade as well and seeing a release. Yeah. So
I still think it was better than 7, but that's just me.
That's just it, right? A lot of people enjoyed 8, and 8 was a good game. It just, so many people Final Fantasy VII was the first for so many people, and much like other things, like your first whatever tends to be your favorite in a lot of cases, and that's why so many people are like, well, 7's the best, blah blah blah. But 8 was a really good game.
Bioshock 2 situation.
Bioshock 2. I was actually, when I compare that, I think of the Doctor. Like, your first Doctor is your favorite Doctor, right?
Yeah.
Same thing. There's so many Final Fantasies. Whatever your first Final Fantasy was, that's your favorite. It's why the original is my favorite. It's my first one. But 8 was still good. It had really interesting story. The time loop paradox at the end was really interesting. Just so many parts of Final Fantasy VIII I thought was really well done, and I'm glad that it's finally getting some attention that it deserves, because a lot of the other games, the PlayStation 64 era and newer, are have gotten that attention. X7, 12, 9 even have gotten that attention. So 8 was overdue. So that was awesome.
It's one of those things where I can't really rain on anyone's parade, because I'm sure people are just as excited over Final Fantasy VII as I was for a real-time adaptation of Myst, when they ended up doing Real Myst. But at the same time, when they re-released my favorite and my very first video game from childhood, they re-released the entire game. And just given Square Enix's track record so far, if they take another 2 years to release the second episode, how long before we all just are going to boo them off the stage at E3?
Yeah.
Well, so there's another way of thinking about it. If you try and ignore the fact that it's a remake, which is hard, and I wish they'd make an original game, but just put all that to the side. If you just treat it like an original game, it looks, going from what they showed, I'm guessing it ends whenever you're escaping Midgar on the bikes, which was not coincidentally one of the places where if you're playing on the PC, you had to change a CD. So, hooray, it's canonical.
Yeah.
I feel like they're going to end it somewhere around there, and they'll probably have 2 more episodes. It does function well as like a trilogy. If you think of it less as part 1, 2, 3, and more like 3 new Final Fantasy games that are actually linked in a trilogy, that in itself is kind of exciting. Like, it's more interesting than, like, if you approach it as a part 1, 2, 3, you're going to get really disappointed because the second one's never going to come out anytime soon, and that's going to be sad. But if you treat it more like an arc of, like, like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Maybe I just have lacking trust in them after, the catastrophe that the original Final Fantasy XIV was before they had to completely rebuild it.
Well, I mean, they did, but then what came out was still pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, and I think the other thing about that is they were trying to do stuff with an MMO type game that just fell flat, and the Final Fantasy fans will play either one, but there are probably people that play Final Fantasy games but don't play 11 or 14, just because that's not what they're looking for in their Final Fantasy. They're looking for a single player experience, not a multiplayer online game experience. So I'm not completely selling them short.
Yeah, and actually I would argue that that's become kind of their modus operandi now. I mean, like, when they made Comrades for Final Fantasy 15, they made that its own standalone game at this point. So if you just want to come up with friends in a Final Fantasy co-op game, you can do that. Whereas there's also the campaign for those who want a story. 7 is going to be for the nostalgic fans. They've obviously got something else in the pipeline for people who are new to the franchise. And I really do I'm kind of content with looking at it as being the whole Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, and Return of the King sort of thing. That makes a lot of sense to me. And honestly, just thinking about the scale of an old school JRPG versus what we can have to do nowadays, just like the production scale has increased drastically. I can't exactly knock them for having to compete on just a level that they didn't have to do before. But it used to be, it was mostly just some background artists make some new stuff, and occasionally someone put a new blocky character together with some vaguely painted eyes on them.
Speaking of, I'm still pissed that Tifa doesn't have block fists.
Oh, it was so great to actually see her in full action too. So yeah, the Final Fantasies and what Square Enix had to offer there definitely stuck out to me. From Microsoft, Battletoads. There's a new Battletoads, which, as long as it's not as hard as the original, because dear God, that was hard. I'm all for more Battletoads and checking that out. And then what was the one that came out from Nintendo? It's in my notes. I'll find it. It's the one from Cadence of Hyrule, for the makers of Cryptid and Necrodancer. Mm-hmm. Ooh, yeah. As soon as I saw the main character from Necrodancer like fall into that Hyrule world, I'm just like, oh, they're doing this, and I was down. I was so down for that. And watching some streamers now actually going through and playing the game, like, It has the same play mechanics. It has remixed Zelda music. It just it's so good.
By the way, tip if anyone's listening, it's not obvious, but you can turn off beat sync mode, which is essentially what I want to say that's how the Bard was in the first one, but there's an option for it in the menus. It's not well documented right now. They're thinking about patching it, but if you don't want to do the whole beat sync thing and you just want to play in the cool rhythmic world, you can totally do that. So yeah.
Interesting. But I'm totally down for checking that out and playing it because that looked amazing. And seeing some of the voice actors come back from the original game into this one just made it even better. So those are the big ones that stuck out. And then only other thing that Crafty and I saw this in Ubisoft when we watched that press conference this morning was the roller derby.
Roller Champions or hold on.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's Roller Champions.
Yeah, that I like that idea. The fact that you got a sports ball type game with an untapped, unsaturated market. Like, I'm down. I'm all for checking that out too. Plus, it's roller derby.
Open alpha.
Wait, it is? Is it like playable right now?
If you have Uplay, you can play it right now. Apparently, they're still ironing out a few of the balancing things, but I mean, it's alpha.
I didn't think that they were still running the pre-alpha. It was available during E3, but I don't think it's.
I'll check.
Yeah, double check that. I don't think it's available anymore, but it was available during E3, which is like great. Here's a chance to go here, try our game, make sure you like it, and yeah, I'm all for trying that one too. So kudos to Ubisoft.
I'm trying to think if there was anything else. There was something on the tip of my tongue besides the roller one, but I am blanking on it. And besides the obvious, which is 12 minutes, you should be excited for 12 minutes. 12 minutes is going to be amazing. Be excited for 12 minutes.
That was just like interesting.
You should also be excited for. Does anyone remember the name of the game about the river Styx and the boat on the river Styx? Does anyone remember the name of this? It's the indie game where you're guiding souls to their final resting point.
Oh yeah, that was one of the ones Microsoft announced. Yeah.
Give me a sec, I'm gonna try and find it really fast.
I'm blanking on the name, but it looked really charming and pretty. Let's see.
Spiritfarer?
Is it Spiritfarer? It's it was something Sparer. I guess it is Spiritfarer. Yeah. So, anyways, if you haven't seen the Spiritfarer trailer, you got to see the Spiritfarer trailer. So there were, at the time that specific day, there was a lot of talk on Twitter about Call of Duty, whatever is talking about how they're making adult games and they have to be able to have babies that don't get shot to make it. And then there's this little no-name indie that comes out of nowhere, and that's a fucking adult game. It's actually about dealing with death and about embracing. You gotta check it out. It's like, dude.
Yeah, no.
And it's pretty.
Yes.
I need to go back and see if I can find this one because I don't seem to recall this one immediately.
There was just some really cool. Oh, I wanted to say, I'm really shocked to say this because I've never been a fan of the franchise really before now, but I'm finally going to try Gears 4 because Gears 5's looking surprisingly emotionally and story resonant. Like, I know most of that is going to be trailer focused, but it looks like they might be finally daring to do something besides meaty men, chest high walls. And
see, I figured you're just all for the Funko Pop version of the game.
No.
I'll probably. It's an odd enough game. I just figured that was, that seemed like an unabridged game.
I'll probably have to cover it for Appalicious because it's going to be mobile, and yeah, that's about it for that. I want to know what's happening with that tactics game. They've said that they are still working on it, but nothing else beyond that. It's like, okay, Dawn of War 2, but with Gears of War characters, I could actually see that working. Just control a squad of guys. I can see that.
Maybe. I don't know. I guess out of the tactical games, the fact that there's a new Fire Emblem, that was one that I was all for because Fire Emblem's great.
There was a Western tactics game, but I think it was somewhere in the kind of funny.
Oh yeah, El Dorado 3. It's coming. We're getting a new.
Was that it? I don't know what it was called. I just remember seeing like people kicking over tables and in a shootout. It looked really fucking awesome. Oh no, it was a mafia. There was a mobster tactics.
Oh yeah, Brenda Ramiro's game. Yeah, it's gonna be with Obsidian or Paradox.
Probably Obsidian's currently making
Outer
Skate.
Worlds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's probably Paradox. But yeah, it looks like if you're actually into tactics games, it looks like legit good.
Well, and another thing to look forward to is that, we have George R.R. Martin now collaborating with From Software. We know next to nothing about the game from the trailer, and given the pattern of From Software games, we'll know next to nothing even once the game releases. But they make good games.
They do.
I'm not gonna lie, I still was sad that it wasn't Armored Core 6. I wanted to Armored Core.
Wasn't there some kind of announcement related to, or maybe it was a cheat mode? Oh no, that's right. It was a cheat mode. There's a cheat mode for the latest From Software game, whatever it is.
Sekiro. Yeah.
There's a cheat mode that someone added, so now you can play as the monsters, which I'm going to use, and I'm going to use it to cheat my fucking way through the game because fuck them. That's why.
Yeah, actually, someone did that with Bloodborne too. They did that so you
Yeah,
could.
it's the same modder. It's
Oh.
Man Fight Dragon on Twitter.
Mm.
Nice. Well, yes.
No, I was thinking. It sounds like we've rounded out our positives.
Yeah.
Can I go first bet on things that did not go over well?
Go for it. What do you got?
What the hell was Avengers? What is going on with this game? Like, I've even seen the leaked footage of the press preview, and it doesn't look better. Like, I heard I was reading these press previews that weren't very impressed, and it's like, no, actually, they're being kind. I don't understand. Oh yes, like it looked incredibly static and like there was almost no flow to it. I'm watching Thor kick people's asses, but it just. I mean, you've seen games that are even stiffer and older, like Mass Effect 3, look smoother than this. It was not good, and the thing is, I don't understand what the art aesthetic is going for whatsoever. Like, really, just it's
This
so.
is the same Avengers that they like had the giant fucking banner across the whole convention. It was like ooh.
Yeah, this is that, and the thing that it hurts even worse is there's leaked footage online of the canceled THQ game that was going to correspond with the movie. That looked amazing. Awesome. Yeah, it looked amazing. That game, an entire generation before, looks actually more creative. I am so concerned. Like, I get that there's a year's time, but a lot of this is set in stone, and like the visuals don't look like their heads don't look like they're connected to their bodies right. Captain America, there was a meme going on where people were joking about, oh, he looks like a redneck revolutionary. He looks like your dad trying to cosplay as Captain America with cardboard. Just like, I normally am wary of people laying into a game, but like the game did itself no favors. I mean, Ant-Man's primary means of shrinking things is a BFG.
Wait, what?
Yes, that's something they revealed at the post-trailer is that he shrinks a mech to the size that he can carry it, and he uses a BFG rocket launcher type thing to shrink enemies. And
but he has the little flingy things, like
I know, right? Yeah, except no, they're not doing that. Like every single wrong call they could. Apparently, it's somewhat single player, but somewhat cooperative. They can't work it out. They plan to have post-launch support for free, which is great. That they're planning on making it, and they're planning on adding extra heroes. And the voiceover in the trailer has everybody expecting, oh, Kamala Khan's obviously going to be in this. You'd have to be stupid to not include her. But and also, apparently, the thing that explodes the helicarrier in the trailer is Terrigen. So, Inhumans, on top of the fact that this doesn't set to the same universe as the MCU, so they could actually have the X-Men and everything. Instead, we're doing Inhumans again. There's no visual coherence. The gameplay, from what I understand, the only character that it actually is coming together for is the Hulk, and this is coming out in a year. I was so excited for finally finding out what this was going to be, because Spider-Man PS4 set a really high bar, and I'm not sure if CD are ready to match it. And I'm really sorry to say that, because Rise of the Tomb Raider was not a bad game on a whole. There were bits that worked. Like the first 13 hours worked, then the finale goes off the edge.
I will say Tomb Raider 2013, no matter what you think of like how the storyline played out and stuff, the gameplay itself was very smooth.
I will agree with that.
Played very, very well. So I am trying to have some faith in Crystal Dynamics in that. They know how to make a good game.
And the thing is, we don't know what's responsible for all this happening, why things aren't necessarily coming together the way they are. And things supposedly the heroes are at least distinct. Like Black Widow is almost all ranged attacks. Although weirdly, they sound like they just copy pasted her character design from Disney Infinity. Her ultimate is that she can go invisible. So it's just sort of like,
I'm willing to bet that the character redesigns probably has a lot to do with the cost of licensing the actors' likenesses. But at the same time, if you're getting permission to get the property from Disney, why wouldn't you get the whole package? Because I'm fairly certain that Disney is binding a lot of those actors into some pretty stringent agreements about slapping their faces onto products.
well, you bring up two good points. And the thing is, they don't actually have to make them look like the film characters. Because like the thing with the Spider-Man PS4, whatever you feel about the new costume they came up with, which was rather odd, besides that, I like the armored version better. I think the armored one really comes together. But I want to say that I was actually okay with them redesigning things because it made it feel like it was their own thing. Whereas Avengers doesn't. I'm not really following what I was. Even the casting choices seemed sort of random, like they were just throwing darts at a wall. Oh, sure, we'll have Nolan North play Iron Man. Nolan North is not a guy you hired to play Iron Man. Like, I could easily see him pulling Captain America. He's played captain characters and things. And like Troy Baker is Bruce Banner. Really, you have Travis Willingham sitting right over there. Where don't get me wrong, Travis Willingham, not a terrible pick for Thor. But if you have him as Bruce Banner and you keep the whole Black Widow Hulk romance thing going, Laura Bailey's playing Black Widow. You'd actually have a married couple playing off of each other. It would be the whole Deus Ex thing. It would actually work better. There's just a lot of choices that are very confusing and concerning me, and I'm not sure what all's going on there. So yeah, Avengers. That was my biggest downer of the entire E3 conference. Shutting up.
Yeah, I felt conflicted. I felt conflicted because I know there's for at least for crafting myself, there was a connection to that stage and the presentation to it, and at the same time, like, I don't know about the game, so I am strictly in the camp of I'll see what the reviews have to say about the game and leave it there.
I mean, full disclosure, we have a friend who works at Crystal Dynamics. So that's part of the reason we're in the wait and see camp.
Yep. Full disclosure, and we've known her for quite some time, so it is what it is. Yeah, I don't know. What about you two? Did Megan, Crafty, did either of you have anything from E3 that just...
You should go first.
I will. I don't know if it counts as a disappointment, but like as soon as I started going into FIFA, does it count that I just kind of got up and went to the kitchen for a snack? I'm sorry.
Well,
I know some people really love sports ball, but I can't get into the sports ball.
Well, technically speaking, that wasn't E3. That was the EA something or rather thing that they happened to piggyback off of. So, yeah, but no, you're not wrong, because it's the thing that EA's gotten away with is that they've gotten away with the same game repackaged with a new roster year over year. They don't do anything innovative anymore, so that disappointment isn't a disappointment we come to expect. So that being said, what else stuck out as a disappointment for you?
I'm still thinking on it. What have you got, Meg?
So, kind of a mixed bag. So my generic answer is the entire Ubisoft presentation, but it's less salty than that. Like, I really liked the look of Watch Dogs Legion. Like, that part I liked. I don't like so much that... So whenever you have a game about resistance and punk movements, which I, clearly kind of care about, you're not fighting literal Nazis. You're not fighting fascists in funny hats or body armor. What you're fighting are the loyalists who actually believe the company line. So it'd be nice if there was the other wasn't like Nazis in SWAT armor, but was actually like people. There's some things about it that I think they could do better. But that all that aside, I'm totally fucking gonna play the entire game as the grandma because that was the best gameplay I saw out of anything. That said, the rest of Ubisoft was like Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon. Tom Clancy's going to take a shit. Tom Clancy's going to take a shit too. Surprise bonus pack with the AR-15 pre-order. Tom Clancy.
Oh, look, a cute dog.
Fucking, oh yeah, the dog. And then what did the fuck did that the dog have to do with? I don't even know. But still, and then at the very, very end, it's like, oh, this is so sad. And then they go Gods and Monsters, and it's like this cool. Oh my god, did they use the Assassin's Creed engine? Did they actually use it to make like a toon rendered more? Oh my god, this looks amazing. And then they didn't show anything. It's just like, by the way, this could be really cool. But later, it's like, fuck you. It was amazing. Okay, so that was my biggest disappointment. It's like E3, Ubisoft was like, cool thing, fucking Tom Clancy. Maybe cool thing. Fuck you, we're not going to show you.
Yeah, that huge, like, what it felt like 45 minutes of just Tom Clancy stuff. It's just like, okay, we got it. You've got a hard-on for Tom Clancy right now. We get it.
We were discussing this before we even got on the podcast. It's like the actually interesting stuff, like the ideas for like revival mechanics and co-op for the new Recon one. They didn't show that. They didn't emphasize that. They did a friggin' story trailer. No one goes to any of the new Ghost Recons they haven't ever gone to it for a story. And Rainbow Six is zombies now.
Yeah, I feel like so Tom Clancy, it feels like it's just a name to tag on to the various like shooting style games, and now Rainbow Six is just a sub franchise to throw onto a bunch of shooting games, and it doesn't have to mean a fucking thing to what the original Ghost Recon games or Rainbow Six games or what have you. They just don't matter anymore. And the only thing that stuck true to the name that they've developed for it was the Division 2, and that's because that's already an established game. It's just additional episodic additions to the game that we can expect in the fall, winter, and whatever in their first year.
Plus, I want to ask real quick, what is with the sudden switch to 3-player co-op in all of the co-op games? Because that just happened this E3. It was like when everybody decided to have bows in 2013. It's just like suddenly every cooperative game is dropping 1 player.
It's the Trinity.
Yeah, but what? Like the first example I can think of that is Overwatch when they did the 3-player mode, but that was long enough ago. I doubt that caused the wave.
I mean, honestly, no, I have no idea. I just threw the Trinity out as a bullshit answer, but I mean, that's the only thing to 3-player whatever that instantly comes to mind is that Trinity of a group, but that's not a good enough answer, you know. I couldn't tell you. Maybe just the convenience factor of it, because
maybe they're trying. So like, if you do a 2-player co-op game, if you do a 2-player, you'll get some limited class synergies, but if you're only dealing with 2 players, the synergies you can actually apply are relatively limited. You're not going to get much overlap between synergies, and it's going to be very based on probably healer and DPS, and that's going to probably be it, unless they're both solos, basically. If you do upgrade that to 3-player, which Overwatch did show this, you have a lot of room for class synergies and different overlaps between them that have a lot of cool ways of approaching problems that you can't do with any less than 3. And if you go over 3, it starts to get muddy again. So I guess 3 could be them realizing that, maybe.
Like, I don't have a problem with it. I personally always thought that, like, when Dead Space 3 was first announced that it was going to have co-op, I was like, sweet, so it'll be Isaac, Ellie, and Isaac's dad, who they've been hinting at for a while now. Like, that would have made... So I'm open to it. It's like, it's weird how it just suddenly happened with, like, Gears 5 and with Quarantine and all these different ones.
So...
Anyway.
I suppose... I'm not sure if it would count as a disappointment so much as just an eye roll moment of Fallout 76. Okay, you guys were right, we're adding NPCs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, this is something that we all realized right from the outset. As soon as they said there's not going to be any NPCs because other players are going to flesh out the world for you, we were like, no, this isn't going to, no.
Yeah.
Also, they announced a battleground mode, which was, yeah.
Yeah, see, Bethesda was the one I missed. I can't speak on Bethesda, so I'll just smile and nod with that. Okay, yeah, that's.
Oh, actually, you get that warrants. That's one more disappointment worth mentioning. Is just Wolfenstein Youngblood. I want to be excited for it because it's the people who made Wolfenstein, who made Syndicate, and they're making a co-op focused game about two women kicking Nazi ass in Paris. And every time I see more of it, the less interested I am. The less appealing the storytelling is. The more it seems to be leaning more into the crasser part of the new Colossus instead of the subtlety of the New Order. The more the gameplay seems to actually be slower and chunkier for no clear beneficial reason. It looks like everything wrong with the new Colossus with nothing good, and that makes me so sad.
They're on a trajectory, and it seems like they're committed to that trajectory. I kind of wonder if there's like someone in a leadership position on the Wolf franchise that's like, we're going to crush her head right in front of the camera, and we have to do this.
Actually, there kind of is. The infamous scene from the new Colossus? Yeah, apparently the creative director of Wolfenstein 2 went on record saying that he actually pitched this as an idea for Dishonored, but Arcane were like, that makes no sense. And then it just got put into Wolfenstein 2 because he wanted to do it. So that's concerning me.
Is he also why we had, let's see, wife beating, gonna kill a dog? I actually quit Wolf 2 at the point where they wanted me to shoot the dog. I realized I could have looked away while he shot the dog, but that doesn't help.
No, it
was 20
really.
minutes of, you're going to sit here and you're going to watch terrible things.
I get that they were trying to go for toxic masculinity, but yeah, I'm right there with. I wrote about it, just completely botched it, and it's. I don't know how he lost the subtlety.
And Wolf 1 had problems, but like it was like they had a very well earned creepy moment after that whole oorah intro. They do the, oh, by the way, your oorah is totally bullshit. Oh, and your friends are dead. Like that was what earned creepy. But they kept a relatively short moment, and then it kept moving, and then there was the torture scene, which was, but still, it still kept it moving. Like, and then Wolf 2 was just like, that creepy scene? Let's do a whole game. Yeah.
Anyway.
Right. So actually, looking at our time, I think let's take a quick break so everyone gets a chance to get up, move around, stretch, and think about other things that really stuck out to you that you didn't like about E3 this year, and we'll get back to that on
Extra
the
salt.
back. Yes.
Or if we need to, bring it back from the salt at all, we'll review a list and go, wait a minute, that.
Yeah, or any of that. Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and take that break. Everyone, we'll see you all in just a short bit. I really feel sorry for the people that hear this sometimes when they come back from break. Like, what is going on? Oh my gosh. Everyone, welcome back to the Newbcast Podcast. E3. We're talking E3. We're trying to figure out the things that we didn't like from E3. And we've covered some stuff, but we've had a moment to think about it. We had a moment to digest some of the things that we talked about that we didn't like. What else? Because I'll tell you what I did. Had a quick reminder. Mythic Quest. That entire announcement for Mythic Quest during the Ubisoft press conference was just garbage. Like, I get that they were trying to be amusing, but it wasn't funny. We don't know what the game is. What? Come back next year when you've got something to have us be excited about, because that was horrible.
I mean, clearly all the budget went Just Dance 20. I mean, that 250,000 people who are still playing it on the Wii really needed that advertising space.
Oh, Just Dance. Look, that clearly is important. That Just Dance is on the Wii also.
Just Dance just is.
Just Dance. Anyway.
No, I really can't knock anything that helps people get up and move and get their exercise in, especially because I personally end up using VR a lot for physical therapy. So, more power to them.
I'm not knocking them. It's like it was given so much time, whereas I'm imagining this player base is going to buy the game regardless. Is really where I'm sitting. So you don't even really need to advertise anymore. It's less necessary than Call of Duty in terms of advertising.
Well, when you consider that people still got confused as to whether the Wii U was a new console or just an expansion to the Wii, I can see a need for advertising.
Okay,
Yeah.
I have something that I think everyone can get behind, because, well, Konami is finally starting to, release things that people have been asking. So I will say real quick, I thought the Turbo Graphics Mini was a good idea with its 8 games per region installed on it. I'm so confused, and it's different games for every region. I guess the idea is collect them all. But I do want to say it's not that it was a ton of negative there. There were a lot of announcements that we were happy about, and there's even more that we haven't been able to get around to, like getting No More Heroes 3, which is amazing. Control continues to look fantastic, and I mean, Remedy is managing to not only release a brand new single-player Metroidvania-style game starring a kick-ass female protagonist, but they are also doing that while making a single-player mode for Crossfire, which is apparently now coming to Xbox, and no one knows who it is, but Remedy's making the campaign for it apparently. So that's gonna be new.
And despite some of the controversy going around, Cyberpunk 2077 still looks like an incredibly impressive game.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't want to get us mucked up in controversy. The thing is, I've been hearing people from trans community who on both sides of the issue. Like actually, Jessica Harvey from Paratopic has had some of the most deep things I've actually heard said about the whole situation. And the thing is, I like that there's actually non-binary options and everything for characters, because I remember when I was making an elf for Dragon Age Inquisition, I wanted to actually make them be non-binary. So yeah.
We could probably talk about that all night without it. Did I just lose sync to you guys? I think I did.
We can still see you moving for what it's worth.
Yes. You're.
We all weren't moving. That's what it was.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, we can probably talk all night about Cyberpunk, but I will say that there are people on both sides of the issue who have very good points. It's representation, but it mostly comes down to how much you trust CD Projekt Red to be good about the representation. And since we can't really say anything about that, I don't know. I kind of want to move on to things we can actually say that were good.
Yeah.
Like The Good Life was shown at ID Xbox, which is the new Swery game. Deadliest Premonition, if anyone doesn't know who Swery is, he's the guy who makes the game about the dudes who talk about coffee and cereal for absolutely no reason, and you have to shave and drive a car, again, for absolutely... He makes those games, and he's making a game about an English village in England somewhere where everyone turns into cats or dogs. You can choose which at night, and it's a mystery, and there's a photography system. It is so pure and good, and Swery is awesome. And they announced that on E3, that was part of the Xbox, which was really cool.
And the art style is gorgeous. It's almost paper crafty, but not.
And good news for fans of Japanese games. We're finally getting some of the old classics actually getting ported over to the United States.
Phantasy Star 2 Online!
A bunch of Phantasy Star fans are going to lose their minds, and it's going to be glorious to watch.
Yeah, I was watching that going, oh, Phantasy Star Online. I haven't played that since the Dreamcast. That takes me back a little bit. Yeah, I kind of going back and even looking at my notes, the biggest thing that I found that I was tearing into was just Ubisoft. So having other people say things other than tearing into Ubisoft would be great. Because, Nintendo hit it really well on the head. Squeenix, except for the Avengers and the Kingdom Hearts DLC with no lyrics, that got my attention a little bit. What was that?
I will give Square credit that they at least, we're showing off some promising stuff, and there doesn't seem to be anything in the vein of The Quiet Man. So long as we keep a evasive of that, it's all good. Because I will even say this, as the guy who's being very worried about the Avengers, it will not be as bad as The Quiet Man. I don't know if anything Square Enix will ever put out again will be that bad. So at least we can take heart in that.
Sure.
I will also give credit to just while Bethesda's was mixed, the stuff they announced that looked interesting was really interesting, and it's like it's great to see that Tango Gameworks and Arcane are getting to make more games because like if they were under Activision or EA, they would have been shuttered way before now. Instead, Arcane got to wrap up Dishonored the way they wanted to, and they're getting to help with Wolfenstein, and they're getting to make their own thing. And Tango Gameworks is not having to make an Evil Within 3, even though there's a light sequel tease at the end. Instead, they're going to make this whole brand new thing that is just so classic PS2 era survival horror-esque, but with modern sensibilities and just, oh gosh, that one was so damn charming.
And it's not going to qualify as a part of E3, but it is worth noting that Cyan World's new game Firmament just before E3 did succeed in its Kickstarter, and they have a proven track record of being able to control their budget and get a good game out the door.
Yeah, we actually had a lot of good announcements before E3 hit. And oh, I almost forgot. One that is not relevant to pretty much anyone else, but is to me. There is going to be a Nazi Zombie Army Trilogy 4. It's going to have an even more diverse cast than last time, and it looks like it's going to be even more gonzo action than. And it just looks so good. Like, honestly, I don't care that there's going to be a Sniper Elite VR or Sniper Elite 5. The main series has never really clicked, but my gosh, they do zombies well, and it's so amazing that Rebellion announced 2 games that I'm really excited for in a row. I can't think of the last time that happened. It's just like awesome.
The Outer Worlds continues to look really, really impressive, though that's another one that I'm going to temper my excitement on just because things like KOTOR 2 and Alpha Protocol and Fallout New Vegas and stuff like that just always have me a little bit hesitant about Obsidian because so often it's like you came so close and some aspect just fell short somewhere along the way.
But all of those were good games. Like
they were good games, except KOTOR 2 didn't have an ending. Alpha Protocol was glitchy as frack.
But really
Fallout
cool.
New Vegas was glitchy as heck.
But extremely cool.
Yeah,
Like I don't know. I with an Obsidian game, I feel like okay, it may be a little glitchy, but at least what you're going to get in the box is going to be extremely interesting. Which, especially at E3, I will take interesting but glitchy over polished but bland every single time at this point.
One thing that I have had arguments with Unabridged Gamer about, though, is the fact that the general market is typically going to be a lot less tolerant of those things than the more hardcore market that, are able to mod and have that kind of experience to be able to actually fix things.
Yes, but we're also going to be seeing because there's a really key part to the fact that they are actually now under Microsoft's umbrella, amongst other things. Like the Outer World is going to be, from my understanding, is going to be coming to Game Pass and all that. It's just sort of like we're seeing a shift in some expectations because, like, when Crackdown 3 released through Game Pass and the Souls-like one that actually we were discussing when you were here last, Megan. There was that I'm blanking on the name for it, but it was a very artful sort of story. But both of those games got a very different reception because they were played like a subscription service, like sort of like Netflix. So I'm wondering if an Obsidian game might actually do better in that sort of context. If people might be more forgiving. Yes, Ashen. So I'm wondering if we're going to see a little bit more kindness towards them. Plus, the thing is, a lot of these games that are now being released with the initial thing and then it gets patched and patched and patched is becoming more commonplace and people are less surprised by it, especially now that No Man's Sky finally proved that you can do that and actually pull yourself out of the muck. And I'd like to think with all the extra money Microsoft is throwing at them, at some point, someone in Obsidian will hire more than 3 chickens who are wearing sunglasses to do their quality assurance department.
I guess at least like if, for instance, Crackdown 3 got a way softer reception than it probably deserved just because of Game Pass. Like if you view Crackdown 3 in the context of this is a was it I think it was 40 at launch, even a 40 at launch game. That's a little maybe, but as like a freebie that comes with Game Pass, it's actually kind of fun. And you play for a couple hours, and go, hey, it's new Crackdown, hooray! And you move on, and it leaves no real impression, but it's fine. It's just one of the games on there.
I suppose, a proven series that is good every single time that we're all waiting for is, the new Pokemon Sword and Shield is going to be coming.
Yes. Yeah, that looks so good.
Can I just say that, like, one of the best moments I had was just, like, waking up randomly in the middle of the night to a text message from my father going, oh my god, I caught a Mudkip! In Pokemon Go.
Yeah, it's one of the things that so during the Treehouse, right after the Nintendo press conference, they were showing off some of the gameplay for Pokemon Sword and Shield. I did like how there were elements of Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu, where you had the overworld exploration and you could see the Pokemon on the field, but when you got into combat, the fights with they were like classic Pokemon. Like you had your Pokemon, you did your attacks, and you did like you would any other game. It wasn't like Let's Go Eevee or Pikachu. I really like that.
I gotta say too that setup where you can actually see the Pokemon in the overworld is a massive boon to the shiny hunters.
Oh, absolutely. The other thing I really liked about it was weather conditions and how weather conditions in different areas can actually affect which Pokemon are like
really?
out. And yes. So it could be raining and you'll see more water type versus like if it's out and sunny and warm, then you're more likely to see fire types or whatever the situation is. But they have those conditions to the Pokemon that are out in the field too. So it encourages you to revisit zones, which is really nice. And then their raid system that they're looking at too, where legendary type-ish or like very much stronger Pokemon are available to fight, and you can join into the battle with other players, other trainers, to capture them or like fight these Pokemon and capture and whatnot. It was all great. I thought it was. I'm really excited to play this game when it comes out in November. So I would completely agree. That was a bright spot. I thought Nintendo really. Actually, let's just shift into that quick. Based on everything we saw, which publisher do we think nailed it really well this year with E3? And I'll go first, and I'll say Nintendo. I think Nintendo hit it hard. I don't think they really flopped on anything. Any of their, or nothing that was strong enough to be like, that was horrible. I don't think that happened.
I'd probably go with Microsoft. I really liked the essentially equal representation with indies on stage. They showed a lot. Like they had Eichenfeld up there. The developer's this really sweet, just one guy, and he was on an E3 stage, and that was really cool. Like they had, and they didn't like drop any horrible bombs like E3's Tom Clancy thing, but like they did really well, I thought.
I gotta agree with Megan that I think Microsoft hit it out of the park really well in that regard, and they space things out really nicely. Like the fact that they ended up talking about Gears 5 and before getting into Gears Pop helps, soften it for some of the people that want to be like, we don't want those casuals, but we can see that our hardcore game is still around, and they didn't flub it like the Diablo announcement did during BlizzCon. And they just had such a nice mix of things: the simulators, the indie games, some of the the racing games, having Halo. There was just such a nice variety to what they brought to the table, and the fact that they gave us information about their new console without beating it into the dirt.
And there was gameplay, like lots of gameplay.
But yes, gameplay, and they had the version, but also in terms of actually addressing Scarlet. One, they just were like, yeah, it's happening. And one of the key things that they said amongst their whole montage of people just waxing poetically was, by the way, yes, it's backwards compatible. Like, they just out of the gate are like saying, we are making sure that's even the reason why we're no longer getting any 360 or original Xbox games coming to Xbox One, is because they're making sure that everything that's currently out runs on Scarlet, which is just, that is one of the best selling points you can give me, is that I literally have dozens of games that I can already play on the new system. That is how you tell me that this is actually going to be a worthwhile upgrade, because I mean, why wait for an X if you can just get the Scarlet?
And especially, I'm sure for you, like, you and me have talked at length about how you're sitting around trying desperately to salvage these old broken PlayStation 3s that you've got. The idea that you could just pick up a Scarlet and suddenly have access to all this old library too is incredibly appealing.
Question: are they actually doing? I thought the backwards compatibility only went to like Xbox One. Are they doing Xbox 360 as well?
Yeah, they're going on bringing original Xbox, Xbox 360, Xbox
Holy
One.
shit!
Yeah, I know, right? That's a pretty big thing, and they just did that as a low-key announcement.
Fuck yes! I'm sorry, I'm very excited. Yeah, Microsoft.
Oh yeah, but yeah, that was pretty much the final moment where it was like, okay, no one else is going to top this. You're not going to beat. Like, don't get me wrong, Nintendo did some really good stuff, and the thing is, outside of their main principal stuff, they announced a lot of very 80s style indies ones. Like there's the Astral Chain, there's Daemon X Machina. I love that pretty much everything that isn't mainline Nintendo is this really artsy, unique action or horror or something like that. That's great. I love that. That makes it more interesting like it's a console because that means there's more creative stuff coming out of it. But also, holy shit, Xbox brought that and just it reminds me of what it used to feel like on Steam, actually. It reminds me of like early Steam back when it was really good. You feel all this possibility, you feel this big marketplace, you feel all this potential, and you feel like generations of games are at your fingertips and it's all being properly supported. And it's been so long since I've had that feeling, and I love it. I love it, and I never would have thought I would be saying this because I used to be someone who didn't like the Xbox brand, but holy shit, they have turned this ship around amazingly.
And one of the other things that I will say about Microsoft, about their E3 showing this year, I like the fact that they didn't forget that they have the largest install base with Windows. They didn't forget about their PC audience.
Wait, there are PC gamers? What? We exist?
They addressed even the question now. Phil Spencer has finally addressed that they are looking into solutions for making 360 playable on PC. Like they're saying it's a long way down the road, but they are
Yeah.
It's either going to be streaming or they might work out. Apparently, their reasoning is basically like with almost any other emulator is that since it's an official product, they can't get away with it won't run on everyone's systems perfectly for every single build.
Right.
An unofficial emulator can it's unofficial. If it doesn't work on your PC, tough shit. Whereas Microsoft, they want to make sure that it works on pretty much everyone's, but as hardware gets improved, it's a potential possibility either through streaming or through actual emulation, which is just amazing.
And the thing is, like, here's the thing: if that's the case, like with 360 and the original Xbox games, like, unless you have a freaking potato, you should be able to handle those games on your computer. That shouldn't be a problem.
Oh yeah, they actually recently cracked. They are cracking with Xenia and with a couple. They finally figured out how to start doing original Xbox emulation on PC. So like the fans are figuring it out. So that means they're even going to be able to like, okay, we're making some headway here. I mean, Xenia can even load the canceled Battlefront 3 pre-alpha build at this point. So like, we're getting to that point, which is it's amazing, and I wouldn't have expected it to happen this soon. It's just like there's so much positive with Microsoft that I really struggled to have a negative other than Halo Infinite is that's it.
And it's also really promising that their subscription service, the fact that you can just throw an extra $5 on and you not only have the subscription service on your Xbox One, but you also have it on your PC.
And it's everything bundled together. The price they used to be just to have online multiplayer now gets you hundreds of games, some of which you get to keep permanently. It just like it's all the right things, and I'm just going to enjoy that while that lasts.
Well, okay. So,
what do you think was hit or miss, Michelle G?
Hit or miss? Well, I was saying Nintendo, I think, was a big hit. Because I don't disagree with what you're saying about Microsoft. I just thought Nintendo also did that well. And I was kind of impressed that there wasn't anything where I'm like, bleh, and that just kind of got my attention. If we were to talk about bombing, which developer bombed it, like, you could go either with Bethesda or Ubisoft overall, because Battle Royale or Ghost Recon galore. Yeah.
EA. I'm going to just say it now. EA. The only reason anybody actually remembers that they had a conference is Star Wars. Like, really, I'm asking everyone here. Do you actually remember anything else from the EA State of Play? Did anything stand out to you as substantive?
Well,
Honestly,
and that's
I thought Star Wars was in the Ubisoft conference. I forgot they had their own.
Exactly. It just was so. Because here's the thing: as much as Ubisoft might not have appealed to us, as much as Bethesda might not have appealed to us in certain ways, they at least stood out. There's at least some people I know of who were happy with it, like with Doom Eternal. But no one remembers EA. It's as if it didn't happen. That's
The one thing that you gotta give to EA that they won on is the fact that they didn't pay the money to be there.
yeah, I would have to agree with that. Like here's the thing, like there's a reason I'm trying not to bring up EA too much, because they weren't part of the conference, right? They just piggybacked off of it. They knew the hype was there.
They may have just realized that they didn't have a huge showing, and that spending as much money as E3 would have wanted to have that presentation time may have just cost them more than the benefit they were going to get out of it. And it's one of those things where, especially, Star Wars is going to sell itself, and all of their other titles are going to sell themselves. People are going to buy the next FIFA. It's going to happen. There's no question to that. People are going to buy the next Sims. They're going to buy the next Madden, and Apex Legends is still going to continue to print money.
Well,
why blow the money?
Don't know if it will. They've had, I don't know. We'll see. I gotta go back and watch that announcement with the Apex. But yes, the whole EA presentation beyond the Star Wars announcement was garbage, right? I think we all can agree with that.
I do want to mention that, so whoever it was that pointed out that EA wasn't actually at the show and they just tippy-icked, that actually worked this year. Like, the only reason I'm doing the Skatebird thing and got E3 press, we got like as much press during E3 as we've ever gotten for Skatebird, period, it's huge, was because I was in the Kind of Funny E3 showcase, which was not at E3. Like, it was a virtual event that just happened to coincide alongside E3, and it actually worked. Like, it legit worked as far as counting as E3 and getting E3 press. Like, it's a strategy that actually paid out this year. And like, wasn't the Upload VR showcase also not actually at E3? I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure it was another call. It's at E3 because we say it's at E3 one.
Anyone? I wasn't keeping track, unfortunately. I hadn't heard about this.
So yeah, both of those were essentially piggyback E3s, and I want to say there might have been another one, I don't remember, but it actually worked. Like, they were treated as E3 press. Like, Skatebird is showing up. Have any of you seen the Girlfriend Plays YouTuber?
Yeah.
So Girlfriend Plays did an E3 wrap up. At the start, she makes a joke, or they make a joke, and Skatebird is like, well, showing, and it's the only indie shown alongside Cyberpunk and Halo and everything else. So we are legit considered part of E3, even though we never got near E3. Like, I was sitting at home in my underwear watching this, eating snacks.
It's like so E3 is a season rather than a conference.
Like, E3 is a state of mind, man.
I think I heard one person refer to E3 as Gamer Christmas, so I guess that kind of falls into that mentality. Yeah.
I was actually her girlfriend gamer that said that.
Oh, there is one conference I think we've forgotten to mention, and I have a very simple way of summarizing it. What the fuck was going on with Devolver Digital's conference this year?
Did they? Oh, right, they had one, didn't they?
Yeah, they had one.
And they actually announced things this time.
Yeah.
But like, I like the Enter the Gungeon light arcade game. That actually looks really badass. But then they had this weird pre-show thing that happened afterwards that felt like one of those Adult Swim skits that goes on for way too long.
You know what it probably was? Is they probably just planned everything at the bar the night before again. Like, that's what they did last year. And honestly, I thought their press conference last year was freaking entertaining, even though it was done at the bar the night before. The last one
was great.
Yeah.
But this one,
they probably just said, fuck it, we'll do it again. It worked last year.
I think they've been trying for the same irreverent, sort of edgy stick for 3 years now, and that really only works for 1 year, maybe 2 years, and then it's not irreverent and edgy anymore. It just is what it is.
So I just found a Polygon article by Ashley O that described it as stumbling across a magical infomercial on Adult Swim late at night.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks like that was actually credited to Julia Alexander. My apologies.
It was really confusing, and I will give them though that I think that one of the brilliant marketing tactics and / ways to raise money was the Devolver bootleg, where they just bootlegged their own games, like in the NES era. That was hilarious. I mean, it got me to buy a copy, and I'm not ashamed to admit that because I'm not sure how much longer it'll be listed on Steam, but just that was the only thing that seemed like a clever plan on their part.
I honestly didn't know they did anything but the bootleg. I thought that was their whole thing until you guys started talking. Because that part was cool. That was new and cute, and yeah, it was kind of neat. The rest sounds sad and less neat.
It sounds like Devolver was kind of going for that any press is good press kind of approach, and well, look, well, we're talking about them.
Yeah, and that is Devolver's kind of modus operandi. The any press is good press. So let's, yeah.
That's a good point, I guess. So when you put it that way.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I do wonder how long they keep doing that shtick. They've been doing it for a while, and it seems like it's working less and less well, but they're not really changing tacks. Like,
maybe
how
adapt or die.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We'll see how long the audience sticks with them.
So I think we covered everything, right? The good, the bad, with games, publishers, good, bad. Is there anything else with any of that we wanted to hit? One last chance to cover it before we move on to a couple other things that we want to talk about with E3.
More Legos. More Legos. Just give me a little like. We got Evil Genius. Now let's do Rock Raiders. I've got the disc right here. Come on, give me a remake of this one. Come on. You know you wanna.
The only last thing I have to say is some of the trailers I saw. I'm still trying to determine how I feel about having influencers as part of your marketing in your trailers.
Oh.
I mean, it's one of those things where, unfortunately, the way this economy is set up, a lot of people have to resort to sponsorships. It's one of those things where if you are not paying for something, then you are the product.
Well, no.
For people that watch Twitch streams or YouTube videos, etc., if they are not paying for it, then they are going to get sold to.
Well, no, I get that, but I'm just saying that we've seen that more and more lately with some of the trailers where you get a clip of like we saw Dr. Disrespect in one of the Ghost Recon trailers, which that probably came back to bite them a little bit given the news with him this week. Yeah, like that was horrible timing, and they had him in one of their trailers. Like
he was. It wasn't just a trailer. They had him on posters, and there was like a cover for some other brand too. It was. Oh.
And granted, he probably got nothing more than a slap on the wrist, but it's just the timing of it all. Is like, cool, you just got your brand linked to his being kicked out of E3 and temporary banned. I don't know. I feel like we're gonna see more and more of that, which I feel like for the rest of us that aren't these huge streamers that have thousands of people watching us at any given time, constantly seeing like the Pokies and the Dr. Disrespects or whomever showing up, the ninjas showing up on commercials in our streams. I don't care either way, but I can see other people getting pretty ornery about it.
I think we're probably seeing a kind of crest in influencer marketing. Like we are now into the point of influencer marketing where their brand is simultaneously, this is a real person whose opinions I can respect because they tell it like it is. They don't lie like this. Being paid by the single largest manufacturer of video games to be in the official trailer of the video game selling. At a certain point, that whole we're real people, you can trust us branding just tips over. And I feel like we might see that in a couple of years. We're not there yet, but Can they really keep it up much longer?
Well, that or how far down the pole do they go to get the? Well, that's just another person that happens to have opinions, right? Like how
You're cutting up as far as
You're cutting in and out.
I'm cutting.
Yes.
Like stop motion animation.
No, what I was saying is, how far down the pole do they go, as far as like popularity to get that? Dude, this is just another person that has opinions and thinks that this is a good game. Whatever. How far down the pole do they go before that completely tips over?
And it's one of those things where I can really give a tip of the hat to essentially these self-made celebrities because of that wonderful aspect of being able to be your own boss and prove that you could do it, etc. But at the same time, you also see a problem with some of these self-made folks not actually understanding their own value and accidentally devaluing a market.
Oh yeah, that
I mean, we've seen things like cosplayers getting hired to be models at some of these conferences, coming out of it going, oh my god, I actually made a loss on this. It cost me money to do this. I'm not sure if I can anymore. And it's like, well, why didn't you make them pay you more? Well, I was so excited. That was your first problem. And the fact that there's a reason why models and marketing people and folks that are actually paid to know all of these things and recite them out to people get paid what they do. And unfortunately, we kind of have those markets, the professional markets and the self-made market, isolated enough from each other because they're in competition with each other. And a lot of these self-made influencers don't necessarily know their value. Yeah. And it makes them really affordable and really appealing to a lot of these large companies.
Yeah, which is part of the reason I'm wondering about how far down the pole they go to get some of those influences, and how much of an influencer do you have to be. So that was So yeah, that was the last thing I had about the good, bad, and ugly out of E3 this year, since we seem to have it all covered there. What are some of the stuff that we want to hear more about, though? Like, what's stuff that we didn't hear about E3 that we felt like we should have?
Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Yes!
I was going to say that too.
Come on, it's never going to happen. They've lied to us again. They've done it again, and they're going to keep dragging it on for another couple of years. Then it's going to be canceled, and they're just going to skip to Beyond Good and Evil 3 with an even better pre-render. And they have broken me.
Is it a case that we all feel like Beyond Good and Evil 2 was yeah.
I would like to see more about Vader Immortal. I mean, I know that episode 1 is already out, but particularly because it's episodic and because VR is such a temperamental market right now, because you're having to push adoption of essentially an expensive technology to even be able to play. I wanted to see more about that game, but we didn't.
I mean, there's a lot of them that I wish we could have seen more of, but if I start listing off the games that showed pre-renders instead of like actual gameplay, that'd be a long list. Long. I guess I want to know more about Watch Dogs. Well, it is, and yeah, so I guess to ignore those, so they showed a lot of Watch Dogs gameplay, and I really liked. I mean, the first Watch Dogs was, there were elements that were good. Watch Dogs 2 was fucking awesome. And Watch Dogs, it's not 3, it's like Watch Dogs something, isn't it? Whatever.
Watch Dogs Legion.
Yeah, there we go, Watch Dogs Legion. Like, I feel like they simultaneously showed a lot about it, but I still don't really know what it is. So that's kind of, I want to know more, but telling me more might be spoilers. Mostly I just want Watch Dogs in my hand at this point, so maybe that's an unfair assessment.
Yeah, see, I don't know if that... It'd be interesting. I want to hear more about that, because yeah, the trailer for Legion definitely had my attention, I think, in that.
Can the rest of you hear her?
No, you're cutting out again. I think it's that if you've got a voice activation on your mic, you need to slide your activation level lower so that we're picking.
All I'm doing is hitting the mute on my mixer. So if you see me reaching, I'm just hitting the mute, because Crafty and I are in the same room.
That broke up too.
I don't get it.
It wouldn't be a podcast without technical difficulties.
Maybe it's just on
The
the
Shell is animated by Leica Entertainment.
it. I think that everything is just on the Discord side of things because yeah, jiggle the cable. Wait. Ooh.
My goodness.
Oof. I might just need a new XLR cable. Yeah.
Good to know.
So we'll be making
We're almost to the end. So,
yeah,
I mean,
we'll make an Amazon order later. Everything good? Everything sound good?
We can hear.
Okay.
Yep.
Have you tried turning it off? God damn it. Yeah. No, I saw that in the chat as I look over. Have you tried turning it off and turning it back on again? Yes. Yes, I have. It's funny how that works. God. So are we all convinced that the thing that we just haven't heard enough about was Beyond Good and Evil? Like everything else was.
I mean, think about it. Of a lot of the games that we've been like teased with a sequel for a very, very long time, a lot of them have gotten fulfilled. We got Dreamfall Chapters. We got Siberia 3.
Vampire Masquerade.
Vampire the Masquerade.
that would be
We
one
need
that
Beyond
would be
Good
worth
and Evil.
mentioning.
What was that?
And Vampire the Masquerade the new Vampire game would be one worth mentioning. That if it was at A3, I don't remember it.
I
and I feel
don't think actually, it did have one demo at one of the conferences, but
But it
I
was
think
just
it was
like
the PC game
official
show.
announcement, right? Like it was one of the pre E3 things that E3 never actually followed up on, which was kind of surprising.
No, there was like I think it's at the PC Gamer gaming show, and nobody tunes into that except for people who read their website. So I think that's why no one actually saw it.
But what? I don't know. Okay, maybe I just wasn't watching the show.
But I think the two biggest things that we're missing were probably going to be Beyond Good and Evil 2 and Half-Life 3.
No, I don't want Half-Life 3. I do not need more. Fuck you. Fuck you. I know you did that just to bug me. Fuck you.
What
But
if Half-Life 3 was Artifact this whole time? What if it's Gordon Freeman playing cards?
it surprise me anymore. If there was anything,
what was Morgan Gordon Freeman that playing the one flopped Steam or Valve game? What the hell was it called?
Do you mean the mod that they got officially canonized?
Black Mesa?
No, not Black Mesa.
No, there was a.
don't mean Hunt Down the Freeman, do you?
Yes.
Oh gosh.
Wouldn't that be
No,
something?
no.
Yes. Could you imagine?
Bite your tongue, woman. No, what we actually, I will say the one thing, it's Fireball's chance in a snow cone factory. But goodness me, at this point, EA seems to be trying to double down on having, their main IPs stay around as a thing. Like, they're doing a crappy job of supporting Star Wars so far, but they're at least, they haven't abandoned Battlefield 5. They even gave it more co-op maps when everyone was just dissing the co-op. So, they seem to be supporting their IPs, so bring back Dead Space, for crying out loud!
And Ellie.
Do you really want Dead Space in this modern age with what Dead Space would be if they made it?
Well, there actually is a fan
Careful
spiritual
what you
successor.
ask for.
No. The thing is, I know it wouldn't be as I remember it. I completely embrace that fact. But there's I'm trying to find.
Don't worry, Elijah. Don't
Can
worry.
you
Words are
imagine-
hard.
Can you imagine Dead Space as games with service? Or games
Actually, yes, I very much could, because I remember back in the day that my immediate thought was, actually, before Battle Royale was everything, I was like, if you stuck 16 players in a Dead Space space station with the zero-G element, I could see this working. Way before that ever became a thing, I could see that be a thing. So, friggin' hell, just there's so many ways you can take that. There apparently were plans for a space flight game, a first-person Dead Space, and an adventure one. Apparently, all of these were being prototyped around the time that Dead Space 3 led to the game series getting into the axe. So, there's a lot of directions they could take it. I just hate that the IP is lingering, given it had movies that at least one didn't suck, had a bunch of novels and graphic novels that didn't suck, managed to be this whole multimedia continuity thing like we are all about nowadays, all on its own as a relatively modestly selling series, and now we're doing nothing with the IP, even though horror is at a fever pitch. It just seems like a really
They're
call.
they're probably trying to let it sleep long enough until people have forgotten about it enough that they can just reboot it, kind of like they're probably gonna do with the Mass Effect at this point, which isn't fair because Andromeda was actually cool after they patched it, but it's already dead, so doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They gotta give people enough time to miss.
I have the spiritual successor here. It's called Negative Atmosphere. They actually showed off a demo at EGX Rezzed. It's not perfect, but the developers have been remarkably showing a lot like in a Hellblade style. They've been showing off piece by piece as they're putting it together, and it actually looks kind of decent for something that's being done by just a handful of people. That's grown now to 23 people and a Patreon campaign with over 1,000 being pulled in a month.
Damn.
It seems like it might actually come together potentially. I'm knocking all the wood, but I gotta hope.
Well, I mean, if World War Z can turn into a legit good Left 4 Dead successor, why
Thank
not?
you.
Though without the special zombies, it doesn't have the asymmetric that I really liked playing, but if I ignore that part, it's really good.
Yeah.
Apparently, they're adding a new type of special zombie. They're actually factoring in some original one that's coming in.
They kind of are, but they don't have the kind of special zombies they have are the kind of special zombies that are fun to play against, not the ones that are fun to play as. So I don't think they have enough meat to really hang an asymmetric version mode off of. But at the same time, they have infinite money now, so maybe they will.
Fingers crossed. Sorry. I realize we're with this conversation flying over some people, folks. As World War Z, it's actually a really good shooter. There you go.
Surprisingly, you would never expect it, but it actually delivers on. Remember, if anyone remembers Left 4 Dead, they had the hordes that would come at you, and they were kind of cool in a 2008 kind of way. A World War Z actually delivers the giant horde of fast-moving zombies that pile over each other and use body climbs to go up walls, and you can knock them off and they totter off the wall. They have all of that cool shit, but it actually plays well. And it's all of that and still being a legit good Left 4 Dead successor. It's really remarkable that they did all of this within the incredibly shitty World War Z license.
No, that's fair. I mean, that would be something. I'm just curious to see, like, I'm glad to see that that's where that conversation went, because it's the things that we aren't hearing about. We want to hear more about. So that clearly was that. Because I'm thinking about it. I'm trying to think, like, what was there that we didn't hear? I mean, the things that I wanted to hear.
I'd like to hear something solid about Star Citizen.
It's a con. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say? I said that again.
You can't say that. You're going to get yelled at by internet people.
Yeah, I know.
Who all own 13 spaceships that they just you can't see them, but they're there.
Don't get cocky, Michelle, especially with you playing Elite Dangerous so much. One of these days, you're going to find yourself playing Star Citizen, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, probably. But I can call it what it is right now, just because it's not good management. It's the management there is not good, and it's well documented that it's not good. So,
the sad thing about it is it doesn't matter how good it is at this point. It cannot possibly be good enough to live up to people who bought 24 invisible spaceships and spent $100,000. There is no game that will ever make that community happy.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So I mean, just thinking about personally, like the stuff I wanted to hear about, Squeenix covered. Ubi touched on the game I didn't realize I was interested in with rollerball and roller derby.
That looked really fun.
Yeah. So I think a lot of.
Can I just say that it's really nice to see a sports game getting elevated. A sport that is traditionally very dominated by women.
Yeah. No. Absolutely.
Especially here in Minnesota, there's a really huge roller derby league in presence.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't there also a movement in sports for what's this? What's the sport where you get like a really small track and you ride bikes around it really, really fast? Velocidrome or something?
This is my first time ever hearing of it.
It's another thing that I think is coming up. It's there's a couple of sports that involve going really, really fast around an angled track. It's cool that that's the whole thing is actually becoming a thing, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Pod racing?
Don't go playing with my heart.
Some things just deserve to rest. You know, just let it go. Yeah. So I guess with that said, I don't know if there's anything else that we can touch on. That's like, I want to hear more about this. Except maybe the next generation consoles. What's some stuff that we want to hear in regards to that?
I mean, one thing that I gotta hand PS4 Pro is their attempts at making virtual reality more accessible. That's definitely part of what's so good about the PSVR, even if I don't think it has quite as much capability as I want from VR. But yeah, I mean, we've got Microsoft talking about the next generation, and one of the things that I'm very grateful to consoles for getting me through the time period when I had like just moved out of my parents' place. I was just getting established on my own, and I could not afford a decent computer to save my life. And they really held me over then. But now that I'm older and actually have a bank account that doesn't make me cry, I have a good computer, and that's all I'm really seeing these consoles as is, okay, we're getting a slightly better computer now. Now give me good games on it. Give me a reason to buy it. Pretty much the only reason I'm buying any console is if some exclusive sells me on it. I get Xboxes for Halo, and the reason I bought the PS4 was for Bloodborne. So we'll see what Sony totes out next.
Yeah, I think with that in mind, the ability for backwards compatibility again is we talked about it earlier that Microsoft nailed it with that. The fact that the new Xbox will have that, it's just awesome. I would love to see Sony do that with their consoles, and I would like to. Nintendo has that in the Virtual Console system, but right now their online Nintendo service that they have, the games are just horrid. I would love to see them be able to maximize on that more in the Switch and what they have to offer in that Virtual Console, that NES online service. Yes, Elijah?
Add, if someone tries to argue they can't emulate the PS3 on the new hardware, if the sale processor is too hard, homebrewers have got Linux running on PS4 with PS3 games being emulated at full frame rate, perfect emulation. It is doable. Sony, other than simply saying they don't want to put the money towards it, can no longer tell me that they can't get a PS3 game running on their PS5. If they're boasting the specs that they're claiming, you got no excuse. Let me play Killzone 3 on a PS5, then we'll start talking. And Puppeteer!
You could actually play Black again. Remember Black?
Black, that would be a nice one to see again. I mean, Xbox does have it, but it'd be nice for Sony to actually have it too.
Oh, right. I at that time I had a Sony, so I think of it as a Sony game.
No, I completely understand. There are just certain games that even though they're multi-plat, you just think of it like Time Splitters. It's another one everybody thinks of as either PS2 or Xbox. Nobody's like, oh yeah, I played that on the GameCube.
I did play it on the GameCube, and I think of it as a GameCube game. For what it's worth.
Just think though, Elijah, that if they actually make the Sony stuff backward compatible, you might finally shut up about making me play Kill.
Oh no, I'm not going to shut up because I just will have more motivation to ensure that you play it. I will find a way.
I'm just excited about maybe playing Jet Set Radio Future again.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
That's been one of those. Jet Set Radio and Jet Set Radio Future and Jet Grind Radio was the other one. Those two are essentially unplayable now. Like they've been locked on a console.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that yeah, I agree.
It is coming. It is coming, at least for PC users who can get the original Xbox emulator running. Apparently, they're trying to get Future to run. I'm not sure about Grind, but apparently Future, it's like think it was at like 20 FPS. There were some jaggies, but you could at least play it. So, progress.
Mm-hmm.
Or they'll just make it work on console, and then I'll get an Xbox, and like they could fucking awesome. Right?
Yeah, that would be nice.
Or original Fable. I could actually play the original good Fable that didn't suck ass.
Yeah, that'd be
Well, like
that'd
I like
be fun
Fable
too. I'd be
too.
down for that.
Tell
Just
us
the
how you
PC
really
port.
feel.
Well,
Lost Chapters was horrible, and that,
well, I liked the other. The other ones were good, like Fable 2 and Fable 3. Even Fable 3 was okay, but yeah, like all of the PC ports were fucking awful.
yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, it was barely playable at that. I think I gave up after 15 minutes.
You didn't miss anything.
Yeah, God. No. So I guess the only other thing that I would be asking about as far as input from E3 is what was the standout adorable moment of the conference, because there were plenty of them this year. Just in general, like the Keanu Reeves interaction with the guy in the audience, or
I mean, if I
the
say
dog.
Keanu Reeves or E3 waifu, which is the meme, but I wish they wouldn't call her that, or like those are the obvious ones. For me, it was the moment that Animal Crossing came on the screen. Like that was perfect for me.
I had to say Reeves was really nice, but Ikami Nakamura, that's her name, the lady behind Ghostwire, she's just so damn pleasant. Like Keanu Reeves is just being Keanu Reeves, which is not a bad thing, but it's like this is a woman finally getting to take center stage, talking about her medium, embracing all the energy going on, and just being fucking pleasant, which we so rarely get.
And the fact that it didn't feel like she was selling to you, it felt like this wonderful woman was bouncing out on stage and was just so happy to sit people down and show off this thing that she had worked really hard.
Mm-hmm. It was perfect.
I agree with that. The other thing I thought was the Bowser thing, where they introduced Bowser, the new CEO of Nintendo, and then after having Bowser there for a moment, Doug Bowser kind of comes in and is like, no, I think there's a misunderstanding. That's me, not you. And King Koopa Bowser just kind of stomps off and grumbles, and I thought that was fun in its own way too. And I'm glad they're having a sense of humor about that. Other than that, I think to say one is more awesome than the other, though, you really can't. All of it was really good. Like all those moments just made you appreciate what the conference has to offer as a whole. So, yeah. I guess we've kind of talked about E3 in a nutshell. So I think we're good at calling this a show. But before we go, this is our chance to go ahead and shill our work. And we shall once again hand it over to Megan Fox, our guest for this episode, about what she is working on and what is going on with her. Take it away.
So yeah, hi, I'm the person making Skatebird. It's a game about a skateboarding bird that tries their best, and it is an entire game about trying your best. It is on Kickstarter right now. It funded in the first 24 hours, so we're doing a bunch of cool stretch goals, and you can get kick-ass actual skateboards and little skatebirds. You can get yourself in the game. There's a bunch of cool stuff if you go over to the Kickstarter. But aside from all of that stuff, which you probably don't care about, the thing you probably do care about is there's a public demo. And the demo is like, yes, it's tied to the Kickstarter and stuff, but it's also just a cool standalone demo, and I'd love to know what you think of it. So yeah, please go try the demo and have fun and be a skateboarding bird.
Awesome, thank you. Crafty, do you have anything you will be working on? Or...
Typically, the way anyone's going to see me is when you grab me and go, I need a guest tonight. So
and at some point, we'll get you on Unabridged Gamer. At some point, the stars will finally align.
At some point, Unabridged Gamer's life will stop being an absolute cluster and we can actually plan things. We were going to be doing some stuff about, I believe, Call of Duty Black Ops 3, wasn't it?
Black
Or was it
Ops.
2?
Oh no. 2 is. Remember, 2 is only good for the motion controls. That is the only. Good.
Yeah, we were going to do some discussion on Black Ops 3. You'll typically find me here on the Newbcast, and I know that at least 2 of the other people here, as well as Hip Anonymous somewhere in chat, have been trying to nudge me toward doing information on virtual reality, particularly because of the fact that I am actually ridiculously prone to motion sickness. So if you would like to see either a YouTube or a Twitch channel geared toward will this game make you puke, let me know.
Cool. Thank you. Elijah, what do you got coming up on your channel?
What have I got coming on? Well, you see, I chose to set out on the most maddening quest imaginable. I chose to decide that the majority of the games I would review in 2019 would be licensed tie-in games. In the epic clash of the tie-ins, and remarkably, a number of them haven't sucked, including one Spider-Man game that is not the one you think that didn't suck, that I'm very excited to be talking about in the near future, and just, yeah, that's been a lot of what's going on. We're also going to keep streaming Layers of Fear, and in the Clash of the Tie-Ins vein, we're going to be streaming the Godfather Black Hand Edition for Wii at some point, as soon as I can figure out how to get the Wii streaming set up to work right. So that will be interesting, because supposedly it's actually a really good improvement. Like, they added new content and everything. So
It's a really fucking good one.
Oh, it is? Okay. This is what I keep hearing, so I'm very excited for that. And I have acquired so many weird ones. I mean, I even now have Mortal Kombat versus DC. I don't know how that one is going to pan out, but I know it'll at least be funny. And my most recent one was Lord of the Rings Conquest. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. I stream on usually either Fridays or Sundays because, as stated, my life is a cluster. But we're trying to get some semblance of a schedule. I have a Patreon as well, and just anywhere Unabridged Gamer. It's probably me. I'm probably ranting about something, and goodness me, heaven help you if you ask me why Black Ops 3 is amazing, because oh my gosh, it is amazing. You can also find me on Hidden Object Guru's channel. Every now and then we do co-op videos.
Okay, cool. As for myself, we'll be back on Tuesday on this channel, probably right around the same time as usual, doing whatever the community chooses. Straw poll will go up either later tonight or tomorrow, where people get to choose. You get to vote almost all the way up to before I go live. And then on Wednesday, Friday, we'll be doing more Elite Dangerous, working on getting that Corvette. We are very, very close to getting that Corvette. Podcast should be coming out as on iTunes and on YouTube later on Tuesday. That comes out noon Central. And I think that covers it for everyone here. So, that being said, for the Unabridged Gamer, Theocraft, and Megan Fox, my name is Miss Michelle Jean. This has been the Newbcast Podcast. Thank you so much for watching, and have yourself a great night.